Hello, listeners. I am glad you hit play on today's episode because I have interviewed someone I admire and am continually inspired by, the one and only Andy Glaze. Andy is a well-known viral content creator on TikTok and Instagram, often capturing his incredible and very unique running adventures and races. But what shines the brightest to me about Andy is that he serves others while juggling his passion for running. Andy is a battalion chief firefighter. And yes, I do say it wrong in the episode, which was totally embarrassing. He's a husband and father of 3, and he aims to create content to make people smile and bring important topics to light, like mental health awareness for first responders. In a world where we often elevate people for extreme fitness regimens and racing, it's always my hope to elevate those who are living real, relatable lives while chasing big dreams. And there's no one who does this better than Andy Glaze. I hope you share this episode with family and friends and anyone who you think would find this encouraging. I know I did. You're going to hear a part of Andy's story few know about, and I was so grateful that he shared it on our podcast with you. After the podcast, be sure to leave us a review and a rating. It really does help keep our podcast in a solid viewpoint for people around the world, and we have you to thank for it. Before we get started, let's hear from a couple of our sponsors, and then we're going to dive right in.
Bond Charge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every way. Founded on science and inspired by nature, all Bond Charge products adopt ancestral ways of living in our modern-day world. Their extensive range of premium wellness products help you sleep better, perform better, have more energy, recover faster, reduce inflammation. The list is endless. Our favorite product from Bond Charge is their infrared sauna blanket. If you're looking to ease stress and unwind, the sauna blanket can do just that. The infrared heat and your elevated heart rate, all while relaxing, releases endorphins, which can leave you feeling euphoric after your session. It takes less than a minute to set up, heats up quickly, and you'll feel revitalized and less stress after sessions. And they offer free shipping on every sauna blanket, no hidden costs. Go to bondcharge.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%. Sally and I have always been focused on optimizing our health through exercise, nutrition, and sleep. But over the past year, we started thinking even more about something that's harder to control: toxin exposure. PFAS, or forever chemicals, these are everywhere: non-stick cookware, food packaging, and contaminated water. And they don't break down in the body. Research links them to endocrine disruption, metabolic disorders, and even cancer. That's why we've been testing our exposure through Function, an all-in-one health platform with 100+ advanced lab tests. Now, they've added a PFAS exposure test, which is critical since 97% of Americans have these chemicals in their blood. Testing gives you the knowledge to take action. Function makes it simple, with 2,000+ lab locations and a membership at just $499 a year. And unlike other companies, Function doesn't push supplements or pharmaceuticals, just real unbiased health data. You are your best health advocate. Get ahead of your health with Function. Learn more and sign up at www.functionhealth.com/Sally McRae. That's functionhealth.com/Sally McRae.
All right, hello and welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. I am your host, Sally McRae, and I am so excited about our guest today, who you already know from social media, you know from the title. The Andy Glaze is sitting across from me. Say hello, Andy.
Hi, it's me.
Now, Andy, I always like to encourage those that have just started their training right now. We have people that are hammering out on the treadmill in the basement while their toddlers run around. We have people who, like you, are super brave and courageous and are running on the trails at dark 30, hoping that they don't get attacked by a bear. But we also have people that are sitting on a stationary bike in a gym or about to go lift. So what good word do you have to encourage them in their training right now?
I would just say, just keep going. I mean, it's like one step at a time will get you there. But
Yeah.
at least you guys are moving.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. That first step's always the hardest.
So true. Actually choosing to actually get out of bed and put on our shoes sometimes is
It's very hard sometimes. Yes.
Yeah. And I know we have people that have just started racing or their long run. As always, Coach Sally is here to tell you that you are doing a great job. Way to show up for yourself today and your goals. Andy and I are just stoked we get to hang out with you during your training. We're also waving at all the kids that are watching us on YouTube right now and on Spotify. We love you. We cheer you. We hope that you are going to have a great day at school, or if you're going off to practice right now, make sure you do your best. But we are supporting you. Now, Andy, I just have to, I don't know what kind of, I was thinking about what's the introduction that I am going to give Andy Glaze, because there is 5 different directions that I could kind of go with right here. So I think probably the most popular one is Andy Glaze is known on TikTok very well among especially the youth community. Andy, I was telling you when you first arrived that when you and I ran Moab together,
Right.
you made a little video and posted it. When I got home, all of Mackenzie's friends and Isaiah's friends were like, "You know Andy Glaze?" And I'm like, "How do you know Andy Glaze?"
Yeah, I have a lot of young kids that watch me on TikTok for sure.
Yeah, so that is one way that people know you. But in that same breath, you yourself are also a dad. You're a husband and a dad. You're married to the wonderful Lauren Glaze, who I also follow on Instagram. And she just posted a reel the other day that I was crying laughing. It's the one where she's like, "I don't need anybody." And then you're like, "Hi, I'm nobody."
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm literally putting that in. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify right now, you are literally seeing that reel right now playing. I think I watched it 3 times and then showed it to Eddie, but it was just so good. So you're a husband, you are a father, you have kids that are the same age as your kids. So your kids are 14,
13
and 10, and your kids' friends follow you.
Yes. Yeah. And my kids' teachers and their parents and it's a lot. They get a lot of teasing, I'm sure, at school.
Yeah.
But then also lately they've been liking me because they're like, "Oh, my friends think you're cool." So yeah.
You're living in that right now.
Right. But it goes back and forth to why do you have to be famous, to it's kind of cool that you're famous, but
yeah. That a lot of people know you. And so you and I were actually talking before this about when our kids' friends follow our accounts, how that actually kind of makes it a little tricky.
Yes.
At times, because it's, what are you going to post that's...
Oh, everything has to be, I have to show them the picture. I have to show them the video. They have to approve it. There's a whole approval process. And then it's like, "No, you're not posting that." I'm like, "You look amazing." No, I look at my hair.
Yeah.
It's like, "Well, it looks like in real life." What do you mean? They're very, it's hard on when we do family vacations. I just go dark during family vacations because it's just I can't post anything without approval, so.
That is tricky because I think as my kids have gotten older, I posted less and less about them. And so then you always get people in the community, they're like, "Why don't you ever post about your kids?" And it's, almost like this shaming. And I'm like, all that I know from this interaction right now is you don't have teenagers.
Yes. Yeah. I get a lot of that. "Well, you must spend no time with your kids." And it's like, well, just because I don't post it. I don't post everything I do on social media. A lot. I do post a lot, but not everything.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the most precious things that we don't post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to keep some things,
private.
Yeah, to myself.
And precious.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So we know Andy on TikTok. We know that you're a dad, a husband. We also know that you are I hope I say this right. You're a chief battalion?
Battalion chief.
Battalion chief. Darn it. Battalion chief of Laverne.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got it right.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that position is?
Sure. So, in the fire service, you start as a firefighter. They're the ones that actually put the fire out.
Mm-hmm.
Then the engineer is the one that drives the rig. The captain is in charge of everyone in the rig.
Okay.
And then the battalion chief is in charge of all the different stations for the day.
Oh.
So when you're the battalion chief, you're in charge of multiple stations, and then you're in charge of all the complex incidents. So if there's a big fire or something like that, you are controlling multiple different engines and trucks and resources all at the same time. So you're kind of like the conductor of the orchestra on how everything goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like, there's all sorts of ancillary responsibilities. Like I'm in charge of our entire EMS department and stuff like that. So fire is, we're all paramedics in Laverne. So we run a lot of medical aid calls as well. And I'm in charge of all that medical aid stuff too, which is not the fun part of firefighting, but it's the bulk of our responsibility nowadays because things have become safer. There's less fires, but there's still lots of medical aids.
Absolutely. That is a massive responsibility.
Yeah, it's like that meme where it's like you've made yourself too important at work. It's like that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Which is, and I think this is kind of cool to point out. You have been running 100+ mile weeks for, is it over 200?
I think it's 260.
200
this is 267 this week if I finish this week.
And a lot of times you're more than 100, 120, 140.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then doing these races all the time. One of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on this podcast is because I do feel like you are so relatable because you live a real life. You have a family, you have a high stress job, and you're also going after goals and things that are meaningful to you, and the things that you're passionate about, you love to use them to encourage other people. So just so you know, I am a huge fan of you, Andy, and it's such an honor
goes both ways
to be sitting across the table from you. I feel like I relate to people like you that really believe in good work and doing things that are hard, not just for the purpose of getting a medal.
Right.
I know you turn down sponsorships and money all the time. I know there's a lot of companies that love to work with you, but your focus so much is always on sending out a really good message. So anytime I have a guest on, I always like to talk about what their name means. Do you know what your name means?
No, but I was like, when I've listened to other of your podcasts, I'm like, I'm going to learn what my name means. I'm excited.
Okay, so the first definition is manly.
There you go. I love it.
First definition is manly, but I'm going to tell you the next 3 adjectives after that.
Okay.
It is brave, strong, and courageous. That is your name, and that is who you are.
That's perfect.
In everything that you do. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's incredible. The other thing that I just learned when you came here was that your middle name is Michael, and which is also the same middle name as Eli, who is just on here, who happens to be your quote unquote trail husband.
That's right.
That's the joke going around. I know you guys train together a lot, and you guys are just great friends. You guys are such a great support to each other. But I as I was thinking about your name, I was like, man, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about. But I think what is so beautiful in life is that who we are on day one is who we were meant to be, and that we don't have to find ways to try and change who we are, but grow into the best version of ourselves. And I know that when you found running, you were probably in a place in your life where you didn't feel strong and courageous. And that's actually where I want to start today.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like what you were just saying. I was just thinking like, I've ended up at this point, but like I'm 47 now and like things are going great in my life. But like, it definitely was not always that way. And when I started running, I was like 23, 24, and I was out of shape, smoked a lot of cigarettes, a lot of pot, just I was starting to have like these panic attacks where I felt like I couldn't breathe. Mm-hmm. But, back, this is, 20 something years ago, we didn't have like the internet. We didn't have like WebMD where you could be like, why am I getting short of breath in the middle of the day? And like, I feel like my chest is tight. You didn't know what was wrong. And unless you went to like a doctor, which I wasn't going to do at 23 years old. So I was talking to some friends and they're like, sounds like you need to exercise. And that was like that was their diagnosis. And so
let me pause you there. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Redlands.
Okay.
But
which is where you still are right now.
It is. But so I had a long arc to get back. I left when I was 16. That's we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole, but like I can
touch on that.
I was a bad kid and ran away from home. And my parents sent me to a wilderness academy
I've heard of these.
In Utah.
Oh my
And this is back before they were like regulated. So it was pretty brutal. I was there for like 90 something days, and we hiked around for 90 something days.
What let me pause you. What made you a bad kid?
So I did a lot of drugs. I
You just got in the wrong group.
I got in the wrong group,
crowd.
and yeah, I was just like, I like stopped participating in school. Really, I was like, every time my parents would take me to school, I'd just like leave and like go hang out, and just did a lot of drugs so it was like this like sort of dramatic time in my life. My dad got diagnosed with cancer, and they gave him 6 months to live, and I, of course, did not know how to deal with that emotionally, so I just started smoking a lot of pot. And because I found that if I smoked pot, I felt good. And so, now through like lots of therapy and learning about myself, I've learned like, oh, I was using the drug as a way to cope with the, crippling anxiety and depression I was feeling that my dad was going to die.
Were you and your dad really close?
I mean, yes and no. My dad was very, very strict with me when I was younger, but it was still like the fear of losing your father is like is pretty crippling, even if he's like overbearing and strict. You're 16 years old. It's like you don't want to lose your dad.
Yeah. And did you have siblings?
I have a younger sister who's like 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So I was going through all this at like 16, and it didn't the time period when you look back now of me doing drugs and being bad wasn't really that long, but it was enough for me to like essentially drop out of school. And my parents didn't know what to do. They went to like these educational consultants, and they said, hey, we have these wilderness programs that can kind of help reset kids. And yeah, I ran away from home. My dad got some detectives because
you really ran away.
Yeah, I really ran away from home.
You didn't just go sleep on a buddy's couch.
No, like I ran away, and like I was
across the county.
No, I was still living in like my town, but like they couldn't find me.
Wow.
And yeah, they found me, they got me, and they basically put me on a plane, sent me to Utah, and then so from Utah, I did this like 90-day stint, which was amazing because all we did was hike, and I just like absolutely fell in love with the idea of just being outdoors. And like now it's funny, like when I did Moab, I'm like I'm hiking around Moab,
I've been here
voluntarily, but like when I was 16, I was doing this for like 90 something days. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we had to like start our fires by rubbing sticks together, and the whole like we didn't have lighters or anything like that.
How many kids were with you? I mean, were all these kids troubled?
There was only like we were all messed up. Yeah, like I think there was like 10 of us or so.
Okay.
And like they'd hike us around in like
all guys?
No, there was girls too.
And did you all get along? Were you all like,
no,
yeah, we're in this together?
No, because like especially because like in the very beginning, everyone's like withdrawing off drugs. So it's like I remember one girl was like addicted to cocaine or something, and so she was like just coming down off cocaine, and she would like refuse to hike, and so we all have to sit there and wait for her to like she's throwing her temper tantrum, and then eventually we'd like go. I mean, towards the end, it was 90 something days, so towards the end we were all kind of like together, but it took a while for us to like form a bond. Yeah. And some of us, like there's probably like 4 or 5 of us, we still are like in touch.
Really?
On social media.
Amazing.
5 of them, I have no idea whatever happened to them, but who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah. So then from there, I got sent to a boarding school in Massachusetts.
So did you go home?
No.
So
straight from Utah to Massachusetts.
And did you ever see your parents during the 90 days?
No. And my mom thought like that we were like in cabins. They had no idea that that
you're living under a rock.
Yeah,
basically every night.
They gave us a tarp, and then they showed us how to fold this tarp into a backpack. They give us P-cord and seatbelt straps, and we made our own backpack every day. And they gave us a knife, and that's all we got. And they gave us flour, cornmeal, and boiled peanuts and raisins. And that's what we had to eat. So we would take like the flour, and we'd make these like little cakes, and we'd throw them in the fire and cook them in there. We called them ash cakes. And then for breakfast, we would take the cornmeal and mix it and like cook it in the fire, and we called it Yellow Death. And it was like that's all we had to eat. So to this day, I still cannot eat like raisins or boiled peanuts.
Oh
like
my
I
gosh.
can't do it.
Were you guys all like 100 pounds
Oh,
by the time you finished this?
when I was done, you could see every muscle in my entire body. I was like probably 0% body fat.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And kids started dying in these programs because like it wasn't regulated, and then they had to like clamp down. But while I was there, it was like, things were a little rough back in the 90s,
Okay, yes, they were. I'm right there with you. Andy, I have to pause here because the correlation between you doing these ultras so often without crew makes perfect sense to me. You know how to be.
Yeah, it's like I'm like trying to like reinvent like my experience out there where I was like having to like do things by myself
and
like
figure it out
and survive and figure it out exactly. And like part of these like the 90 days, they would like set us out by ourselves, and like we'd have to spend like 3-4 nights by ourselves. And like
That's so dangerous.
I know.
You're a kid.
I know. It's so funny because one time one of the kids like actually started a fire. And like the fire department came and had to like put it out and everything. That's a whole other story. But yeah, it was, I think back to like the correlations between that 90 days when I was 16 to like, where I'm at now is like, it's definitely strong correlations.
Yeah. That's a
the first night, my favorite story is the first night they started us all hiking at night, and we had to hike all night. And they didn't give us any
like straight off the plane. You're like, this is what you're doing. Get out.
Yeah. And we hiked all night, no food. And then in the morning when we got to wherever we were, which was, nowhere, they all gave us one banana. And I ate the whole thing. I ate the peel. And then I ate 2 other kids' peels. I'm like, you want that peel? And then I was starving to death, I was like, so yeah, it was pretty rough. And like, if my mom had known any of this, she would never have let me go. Like,
when did your mom find out?
Like, I mean, after they came to pick us up, and there was like a big ceremony at the end, and she found all this out. But like,
did she cry?
Oh yeah, she still like feels bad about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's like 30 years.
Yeah,
later,
I know.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so you saw her just at that ceremony. So she came to Utah
at the end. Yeah,
and your dad?
My dad was there too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was still alive and healthy.
Yeah, my dad died. He actually survived the cancer, even though they gave him 6 months to live. He died 2 years ago. So like he fought, and he had a lot of cancers and a lot of ups and downs, but like. Yeah, he pulled through for, 40 years before. Yeah, he was a fighter. But yeah, he ended up dying of cancer, 2 years ago. So, which, that's a whole other subject.
We might get to that. There might be an Andy episode part 2. I mean, you guys know Andy and I both like to talk.
Yeah, I'm a talker.
But you're also a great storyteller, because people are listening right now, and this is a great story. It is this isn't a common story.
No.
We don't meet a ton of people who did wilderness camp. See, I used to run a trail running camp for like 6 years out in North Carolina, but it was for adults.
Okay.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd come across the wilderness camp kids out there in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
I believe it. Yeah.
And that's when I learned about it.
Yeah.
And Brandon Thrower, my buddy who's on the East Coast, he's a great race director out there, has a ton of races. He knows every peak and valley in that area. And so he would tell me all the stories about these wilderness camps. And I'm like, are those legal? I literally asked, I'm like, is that okay?
They made a Netflix movie about these recently.
Really?
I can't think of what it's called, but
I'm gonna find it.
A lot of people hit me up and they're like, is this what you went to? And I'm like, mine was a little bit more intense, but it was similar. Like where they kidnap the kids and like take them out to these places in Utah. I can't think of what it's called, but yeah, very similar.
It is wild. So you spent 90 days out there starving and learning how to survive on and enduring. So you became an endurance monster in 90 days and didn't realize that you're going to use this later on in your life.
Exactly. I mean, it was cool. It started something like my love for backpacking. I mean, I had backpacked with my grandfather when I was younger, but like not like that. And so, later on in life, like,
no one's done it like that, Andy. Let's just be honest.
Later on in life, I was like, like more into backpacking. But then from there, I got sent to a therapeutic boarding school.
Okay, so she didn't bring you back.
No.
Your parents didn't bring you back to California. They see you at the ceremony and they say, by the way, here's the rest of your stuff from your bedroom.
Not even that. It was just like, hey, we don't trust you to come home. we're going to send you somewhere else now.
Okay, can we talk about how you dealt with all that? Like when you were out there for 90 days, were you angry at your parents? Were you sad? And then to have to hear that?
No, I mean, so I had done really well in the wilderness camp, and I was like one of the like top performers, and like, you know, had made a lot of headway. That's where I learned a lot of like, that was the first time I had come to terms with like, oh, I'm doing drugs to hide from my emotions. Like I had never had that like thought in my brain before that. I just thought, oh, I'm doing drugs because they're fun, you know. And out there, I learned because they had like counselors that would come out once a week and talk to us, and like they're like, they basically like, you know, presented that as an idea, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. So I felt like I had made some like headway, and I did really well, and I was sober, and everything was good. So I thought I was going to be rewarded with like being able to come home, and then yeah, they were like, no, you're going to go to this therapeutic boarding, and you know, I don't even know what a therapeutic boarding school is, but everybody else got to go home except for me, and then I got sent away. So it was like, and that was hard because, well, one, I'd never been away from home, so it's like the 90 days was intense, but then to like to get taken to Massachusetts and like taken to this place, and just, they basically just like dropped me off and like left me there, and then it was like now I was at a boarding school. Yeah, that was pretty rough.
What was the conversation? Do you fly with your parents, or they just say goodbye?
Yeah, no,
they
we flew. I mean, a lot of it was, I was just like eating like crazy, you know, because like kind of like after an ultra,
Yeah.
like I remember they took me out to eat dinner, and I had like three. I'm like, can I have a piece of cheesecake? And then it was like, can I have another? And can I have another? You know, I was like, it was a lot of that, and like silly things. Like I remember the new Beastie Boy albums had come out, so I was like listening to a lot of music that I had like missed and things like that. But I mean, I was begging them not to make me go to this and let me come home, and you know, they stayed strong, and it was the right decision. I had a very poor friend group at home, and I think if I had gone back in hindsight, like it probably wouldn't have been a good thing. And even after I finished boarding school, I looked at schools out in California. Like I applied to Claremont McKenna, and I just decided that I didn't want to like come back to California, even though I was 18 and I was sober, and I was like in a good place at that point. I just didn't want to risk it.
Wow.
So
that's wisdom.
Well,
yeah, it's pretty young to see that in yourself.
It just
to be able to discern that.
Just made me nervous, and I really didn't want to go back to where I was. Yeah. So I ended up going to school in New York, but.
Well, what was your experience at boarding school like? A therapeutic boarding school is also another thing that's not commonly talked about.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of our listeners have no idea what that means or what it entails.
So this was not such a great experience either.
How many years were you there?
I think over 2. Like I finished out high school there. So it was a very small school. I think there was probably only like 30 or so of us. And the headmaster was very overbearing, and it was like a weird school where, I mean, we had therapy every day, and then we had therapy with like a therapist like a couple times a week. So there was a lot of therapy, but we had these like group sessions where we would all talk about like one person as a group. And so there was a lot of like weird bullying and singling out and stuff.
What in the world?
It's like, I mean, it was like one of those schools where at times like gay kids would get sent to the school, and the headmaster would think that like he could make them not gay. And so like I remember, you know, kids having to wear like pink crowns that say I'm gay, and to try to like humiliate them to make them not gay. And like it was a very,
oh my God.
It was like I was like in survival mode there. Just like I just had to get through it. And yeah, I mean, it was a very dark period of my life, and all the people that we went through it together, yeah, we're kind of bonded in a weird way, because it's like just like a very traumatic experience. But I did stay sober, and
did you have a lot of freedom at that school on the weekends? Like,
not really. I mean, we were able to go into town, so I was able to like go. I remember my biggest thing was like music. So like there was a record store in town, and I could like go to the record store and like buy, buy music. And, you know, I just basically at that school just hid in music. The cool thing is that there was kids from all over the country. So as a California boy who's now in Massachusetts, who's being exposed to kids from Boston and New York City and, Maine and all these places, like I got exposed to like really, really great music and just really leaned into that because that was sort of like my savior is like listening to music. But like it was, I mean, bad things happened to me there. And,
At the school?
yeah, just, the headmaster was just like he actually ended up getting like arrested for like sexually molesting girls and like,
No
yeah,
way.
it's like,
Is that school around anymore?
no, it's called the John Dewey Academy. And if you ever like, I think if you go into like Reddit and like read about it, you can just read about how terrible it was. But yeah, we survived some stuff there that was pretty intense. But one of the things that it did was he had a lot of connections with colleges, so he was able to like convince admissions places to like get us into college. So I did get into a good college because of it, because even though I had like a bad resume from like high school and everything, it was able to turn it around and say like, hey, but he got help and he's like sober now and like, he's like ready to move on.
It's one of those things that, I mean, I guess we're all kind of like guessing what happened, and it's hard because you don't hear about this stuff. People don't talk about it. It's swept under the rug, and especially to a lot of the parents listening to, or even there might be a couple people that have experienced this type of school before, but we always want to think that those kind of things don't happen.
Yeah, well, they do, and I definitely will never be sending my kid to a therapeutic boarding school. But my parents at the time, like they really didn't know what to do with me because I was such a hot mess. And, the counselors and everything there said that this was like the best thing for me and that it was helping me. And maybe on some level it did. It helped me to be very independent. It helped me to think outside the box and to like, it definitely got me to deal with all my like sort of emotional trauma with my father and my parents and whatnot. But
then it added trauma.
It did add trauma, yes.
And could you ever express that to your parents while you were there? What was going on?
Not while I was there, but like as an adult, I've definitely had some conversations with them about what went on there and what happened to me. And again, my mom still feels bad, but like it's like nothing she can do now. But like when you have a troubled teen that's like really in a bad spot, like it's, as a parent, you think like, well, what would I do if Hayden did what I did? And it's like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I would do at this point. I was in a really bad place. I was doing some really hard drugs and some bad things. And, at a young age, and I, surrounded by all these bad kids, and all they knew was to just get me away from it all, which it did. And I think in hindsight, if you look at both paths, like even though the therapeutic boarding school was not the best, it was better than me being at home. And, in the 90s, what other options really are there? You could like send me to military school. That was the other big threat, I'm not sure, that would work either, because you go to like a school like that and there's still all the drugs and alcohol and everything around. So at the very least, at least being at this school, I was able to like stay free of drugs and alcohol and focus on getting into college, which I did. And I made some good friends and listened to some good music and, like learned how to deal with some trauma. So, but yeah. How do we even start this path? Oh, it was like, did I grow up?
I dive deep, Andy.
Did I grow up in Redlands? Yeah.
Well, growing up in Redlands, but also I think it was just you. So you came out of college.
Right.
And college was obviously a different experience for you. And, I know that you've shared you just weren't in a great spot when you found running. You're trying to get healthy.
Right. At college, I was really unhealthy. College, I smoked 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day, all 4 years of college.
And was that just college was stressful, or is just like that was the time in the world where like everyone smoked and everyone?
I think it was everyone smoked, and also like I was sober and everybody in college wasn't. So, like cigarettes were my drug, and so I could sit at the bar with all my friends who were getting hammered and I could just chain smoke, and at least I was doing something.
Yeah.
While I watched all these people get like, obliterated, and then I was always the DD, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't do any exercise. I didn't do anything. I remember talking to runners at college, and they would tell me, "Oh yeah, I just ran 5-7 miles." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like around the college? Like you ran? Like I literally could not fathom that people did that in their free time. And then I took an exercise science class, and the only thing I can remember from it was that my resting heart rate was like 89.
Wow.
Which just, tells you like how out of shape I was to be like 20 years old and have a resting heart rate of 89. And then after college, it just sort of continued. After college, I made an agreement with my father that I would stay sober all the way through college if he paid for it when he did. And I stuck to that. But as soon as I was done with college, I was like, all right, drinking again. I'm going to smoke pot again. I'm going to do all the things that I want to do again, which I did. And I wouldn't say that it ended really well, but like it eventually ended. And then that's where the running took up, because I was, still fat, out of shape, unhappy, depressed, anxious, all those things, not knowing really why. And then once I was able to like, change directions, then all that went away. So
when you graduated from college, did you have like a clear view of what you wanted to do with your life, or did you feel stuck?
No, I mean, so it was rough because I was a computer guy, and I was into computers from a young age, like 13 odd, and I worked in computers while I was in college. I had a computer job, and I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to go straight into tech because everything was exploding back then. This is like 96.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "No, you need to go to school. You need to get a degree. It's important." And I did. And then I graduated in 2000. And what happened in 2000? The tech bubble burst. And so I left college like expecting to get a like awesome tech job, and like the tech bubble had burst, and I was like, "Oh man." So that was a little rough, but there's still tech jobs out there. I worked in computers for, I don't know, another like 5 or 6 years. And
that's kind of when you were like drinking.
Yeah, smoke,
like,
because it was like a weird schedule. I'd work at nights, and not during the day. Side note, I got married to a friend of mine that I'd known for a long time. We ended up getting married, and we were married for like 7 years in my 20s, and we were living in Portland, Oregon, which drugs are decriminalized.
Yeah.
I grew a lot of weed and like smoked a lot of weed and like had a goatee and like.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was like a total.
Do you have a picture of you
I don't
at
think
that era in your life?
I might.
With the goatee.
I don't know if I do. It's like
Tech Andy.
It's like a hard copy, picture. I'd have to like dig it up. I don't have any digital copies because this is before like we all had all the digital stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll see if I can.
So you got married like right out of college? Did you
yeah.
meet her in college?
No, in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were married. We were living in Portland, just kind of doing our thing. Portland's a really cool city for people in their 20s.
Yeah.
A lot of live music, a lot of cool things going on.
Good hiking.
Yeah, good hiking,
Mm-hmm.
all that. So, and that's where I started running as well, which is, it's interesting because, Nike is right outside,
Yes.
it's from there. And the running vibe in Portland and Oregon is like really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I actually learned to run in the rain in Oregon, and that's where I ran for probably like 3 or 4 years.
So that was during the time when you were like, okay, I just one day you decided I just need to get healthy.
Yeah.
There wasn't something, you didn't have like a heart attack. You didn't have a doctor. It was like, if you don't turn things around, you were just like, I don't like the way I feel.
Well, I was having like these intense panic attacks, like where I felt like I couldn't breathe. And, I couldn't. It was so debilitating that I had to address it. I had to do something.
And you didn't know why that was happening?
No. And one of my friends was like, "You should try exercise." And so I went and got a personal trainer, and I went to the gym, and I did the elliptical trainer.
Yes.
And I'm like doing the
Yeah.
thing, and like, lifting weights, and I hadn't started running at that point. And it like I never had another anxiety attack after I started working
Wow.
out. Yeah. So I started getting more and more into it. And I ended up taking a community college class on exercise science to try to learn how to to exercise better. Because again, this is before the internet where everybody like you just knew like there's no podcasts, there was no YouTube to like
Google it.
Yeah, you couldn't Google it. So I wanted to know like what's the best way to exercise? What's the best way to do it? And we had to run 1.5 miles in the class. So we had to run it on the first day and the last day. And like so I start running around the track and I'm like, oh, this is so easy. And I'm like 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps, and then 5 laps I hit the wall. And I was like, oh my God. And then like I was like in first place and then like somebody passed me and then another person. And by the 6th lap, I was just dead. And then I remember like I couldn't sit on the toilet, you know, like my legs were so sore after running 1.5 miles that like I'm like getting on the toilet and I'm like, oh, I can't get up. And I'm like, I never want to feel like this again. So I'm just going to keep running.
This is wild. I love this story so much. 1.5 miles.
Yeah, 1.5 miles.
And you could barely walk. Getting off the toilet was difficult.
Yeah, and I never wanted to feel that again. A little, you know, now you look at me, I'm like, this happens to me all the time, you know, where I can't like get off the toilet, you know. But
that's also because you're running like 300-mile races.
Right. So, you know, I just kept running. I kept improving. I, you know, did the 1.5 miles at the end and it was like no big deal. And then I just kept incorporating running into my like daily exercise. I was just doing like, you know, 5-6 miles every other day. And, you know, Portland's pretty flat. And then, you know, I started.
Down by the river?
Yeah. Down by the river. Yeah. And then we like, I got one of my friends, we did the Hood to Coast.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
So
wildly
popular. Way back in the day before.
Especially around that time.
Yeah.
It was so competitive.
Yeah. And you know, now it's like Ragnar's a big thing. But like back in the day, Hood to Coast was like the legit thing. So I did that and it was like so much fun. And then I'm like, oh, what other kind of races are there? And I'm like, I signed up for the Portland Marathon and I started training for that. I ended up getting injured, but I made it to like 18 miles in my training before I got injured. So
was that your first marathon?
Yeah, but I didn't run it.
Okay.
So someday I'm going to go back and run it because I trained for it. And then like, I ended up getting divorced and then leaving Portland. So, but like
whole life change.
Yeah. So yeah, I got divorced. And then at that point,
how old were you?
I think I was like 27.
You were young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I moved home because I didn't know.
You had your son.
I know I didn't have my son. This is. I have multiple marriages. I have quite the life story. So yeah, that's all. Well, yeah, we'll
keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
Keep going.
Keep diving.
I love your story, Andy.
So yeah, I moved home and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do computers anymore. I just like at that point it was like a hard pivot in my life. I was like, I'm changing everything.
At 27, I feel like we changed so much just from 21 to 25.
Yeah.
You're still growing and figuring things out. I mean, your brain had just finally fully developed, right? 25, I think, is when our brains stop developing.
That's what they say, yeah. And then men don't mature till we're like 40 something, but you know. But yeah, so I was just like I was looking for like just a whole new path. I was burnt out on computers, and exercise was becoming like a huge priority in my life. I started to do triathlons and like really like getting into those and having a lot of fun and sort of like the stress of the divorce I put into exercise and like a lot. So it was like all I was doing was like running, biking, swimming.
And where was this? Did you move back to California?
Yeah, back to California.
Okay.
Yeah.
And triathlon was big at that time.
It was, yeah. It was
late 90s, early 2000s.
It was so fun. Yeah, I had a really good time. I did a lot of triathlons.
Ironman?
No, I never did. I never did the Ironman.
Not yet.
No. So yeah, not yet. I might do it. Yeah, I might. It's just so talk about time consuming to train for. I'm a horrible swimmer too. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's not my.
I'm with you. We should do it together. I swim like a rock.
Oh, we're gonna have to get like a coach or something to like teach us out.
That would actually make hilarious content. Do you remember a couple years ago I did this project called Choose Strong Project? Yeah. Do you know that it was supposed to be an Ironman?
No.
And then I was like practically drowning in the pool, and then someone stole my bike. I was a month into training for it. And then I was like, why am I forcing this? So I've never gone back to it, but Andy, just throwing it out there, maybe Andy and I need to train for an Ironman together.
That would be a hilarious project because I'm a terrible swimmer.
I'm terrible too. I feel like I'm going to die going one length of the pool.
I need to breathe when I need to breathe. I don't like to hold my breath and then like exercise,
right?
And
it's always like the 75-year-old guy that's just swimming laps for like an hour, just at ease.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to go to the YMCA like at 5 o'clock in the morning to try and like learn to swim.
I tried to
peacefully.
too at the LA Fitness, and I'm just terrible.
We need to do a podcast on swimming and invite like a pro.
Just watch us like. It would be embarrassing. I'm just gonna say it would be an embarrassing.
Okay,
situation.
I need to know when you swim the whole lap and then you get to the other side, what does your breathing sound like?
I mean,
are you like gasping for air?
Gasping.
That's how I am.
Because I need to breathe the whole time I'm doing exercise. I do not like to hold my breath while I'm like exerting myself. I don't understand that.
Do you know everyone that's we have a lot of triathlon that listen to this? They're screaming into the podcast right now saying, you do breathe while you swim. You're not supposed to hold your breath the length of the pool.
Well,
there's a way. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
But even that, it's like, it's not the same like rhythm that I'm used to. And it's like, I have really hard time getting, and then you just like that whole, like, you're supposed to be on your side to be like a boat and like all that. And it's like, I got really heavy legs, like really, and then they just like sink kind of. So then I'm like this like weird, like it's like an anchor. Like I'm like,
Have you ever done the DEXA scan? Where they like scan your whole body and they tell you like what your bone mass is, what your muscle mass is, your weight. They like do all of that. I remember the first time I did it, the tech was just like, wow, each of your legs is like really heavy. I was like, I know.
Right. Yeah.
That's where all my weight is.
Yeah. I'm
bony up here. You can see my ribs.
I always say I'm a triangle, like not a whole lot of upper body, but my legs are real thick.
We were not born to swim, Andy.
No, I was born to run mountains. This is what I was born to do.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Got thick thighs,
So did you move to San Diego then? Because that was like the capital of the world at the time. It was San Diego and like Boulder, Colorado. So many people that did triathlon.
I did a lot of triathlons in San Diego, but I just lived in Redlands.
Okay, so you moved back to your hometown. You moved back. Did you move back with your parents?
I mean, at first, because like for the divorce, and then once the divorce was over, I moved in with a bunch of other guys and just lived there.
Mm-hmm.
So
you weren't a fireman yet.
No.
You were like, Tech Man Andy is making the biggest life change. So he moves back to Redlands.
Right.
He's doing triathlon and then.
So I was like, my mom she worked in workers' comp. So her job was to find people's jobs when they like got hurt. So I I leaned heavily into her, and we looked at a lot of different options. Basically around the same time my grandfather died, and he was a pediatrician. And when we went to his funeral, like 500 people showed up. Wow. And they were all his like people all his patients that when they were like babies, he worked on them, and they just told all these amazing stories. And I was like, I want this. Like, I want to, when I die, to have real impact in the world, not I fixed your printer, or I fixed your server, or I built you a web page, or, whatever, like I did as a tech person. Like, nobody's going to remember the person that fixed their printer. Not that that's all I did, but what I'm saying, like, but I wanted to have real impact. And so I started looking more on like the medical route. I didn't want to be a doctor. I looked at being a PA, and things like that. Well, at the same time, I had a lot of friends that were firefighters. And one of my good friends was like, hey man, we get paid to work out. And I was like, what? Get paid to work out? Tell me more. And then so I started like going down that route, and, I took a couple classes, and it seemed okay. And just like, I was the oldest guy in the fire academy at the time. I was like 30 something. And put myself through the fire academy, put myself through paramedic school, and got hired as a firefighter paramedic, and just worked my way up from there.
Okay, you can't say the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
it's not.
This is actually pretty incredible, because I mean, your grandpa sounds like an amazing man.
Yes, he was.
And I always think, both weddings and funerals, they offer so much insight to us, because we're sitting there watching a dramatic event, right? And we're surrounded by people who have been affected by the subject, whether it's people getting married, or it is someone who has just passed. And I think that in both of those situations, we're hearing stories, and it's most often the people that are speaking are ones who have been impacted by someone. And we've said this a lot, like on this podcast, how at the end of the day, the DNF in the race, like, it really doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, what you are doing day in and day out It usually comes down to the people that were there, the people that you did life with, and people will remember not your medals, they'll remember how you treated them.
Right.
And so to hear you talk about your grandpa in that way, and if your grandpa had only known that his life as a pediatrician was going to affect you so deeply that you are now a battalion chief.
I know, it's crazy to think.
So
but
beautiful.
that was literally the point where I was like, yeah, I want to like make an impact. I wanted to like, when I die, I want people to like remember that I did good things or that I actually made an impact in this world, like positively.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like firefighting, you take a huge pay cut being a firefighter from like a tech, And so it's like I had to make the decision like, yeah, I'm going to make less money, but it's going to be like way more rewarding in the long run. Especially at the beginning, like in order to become a paramedic, you have to become an EMT. And I'm, 30 years old on an ambulance with like an 18-year-old kid as my partner. And I'm making, $12 an hour,
Wow.
It was like, but you have to do it. You have to pay your dues to get to where you want to be. You have to do a certain amount of EMT time to become a paramedic. And I did all the steps, all the things that you have to do. And, I got where I needed to be, but I mean, that was a grind. That was, that was hard. That was humbling, to be even in like fire academy, it's a community college class, I'm 30 years old and everyone in there is like 21, 18. They're all like young, strong, and I mean, I was young and strong too, but I was 30 and young and strong and they were 18. So
did you doubt yourself because of that? Were you like, man, I'm not going to get chosen over these?
No, it was just
21-year-old boys.
It's just like you'd get a lot of questions in interviews when you were getting hired from the department. They're like, what are you going to do when your boss is, 8 years younger than you? And I'm like, well, I'm going to listen to him. But, I have a lot of wisdom too. So I came into the fire service with a pretty intense life story at that point, and I'd seen a lot of life and done a lot of things where a lot of 18-year-old kids that are in the fire service haven't, they graduated high school and went right into it. So I had a lot to offer and I've definitely moved up in rank faster than most people just because, I'm not a child and I had that life experience and I know what I wanted to like achieve. So it's worked out, but it was definitely a lot of people ask me about the fire service and I always tell them like, you can get into it at any point. Really. I know people that got into it in their 40s. Obviously your retirement's not going to be as great if you get into it in your 40s, but if you're physically fit and able to do the job, like it's rewarding and you can do it. You can always make that pivot, but I made it at 30 and, a lot of people think they're in their mid to late 20s and like they're stuck and they can't get out of where they are. And it's like, no, it's never too late, but you are going to have to suffer a little bit in the beginning because you have to take the lower paying job. You have to do all the classwork and all the schooling. You might have to go into debt because you can't work a job while you're in the fire academy. You can't work a job while you're in paramedic school, but the long run, you'll get paid back. So, make the move, don't feel stuck because it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's probably goes for lots of different professions. I can only speak to like the fire academy. I mean, I'm sure nursing schools like that. There's a lot of, professions out there that are like very rewarding, that just take a lot of hard work and education. And then once you have the job, you're like, you'll be in a good spot.
I'm thank you, by the way, for your service.
Oh.
Firefighters, you're putting your life on the line when you guys head out on the lines. But I am curious, Andy, what has been the hardest part of your job? I don't think a lot of us like we always see the pictures of the guys holding the hose, right? They're fighting a fire, and being here in Southern California, we get a lot of fires. We see up close. I think in Southern California, we really appreciate our firefighters. We know the very hard work that you do, but I think there's also a lot that we don't know.
Yeah.
And that you guys, I can only imagine what you've seen.
Yeah.
I guess I could never do your job. I have friends that are surgeons and doctors and nurses, and I say I couldn't do one day in your job to see people suffer, to see people lose so much. It takes a special person. But knowing what you went through as a kid, and then now you carry that as a battalion chief, I'm sure that you are invaluable and you have just this incredible capacity for compassion. But what are some of the difficult parts of your job over the years?
I mean, one thing I talk about a lot on my channel and whatnot is PTSD. And I do have pretty significant PTSD just from, of the things I've seen, and it's like, I don't normally like dwell on it or talk about it, but like, our job is to see people on their worst day and to try to like help them, but people have really bad days all the time. And that includes losing kids and losing parents and losing sons and daughters and all the things. So
And you have to be a leader in all of that.
yeah, but even before I was a leader as a firefighter or a paramedic, all the things. I mean, I'm still a paramedic, but you just see a lot. I mean, suicides, murders, everything you could think of that you have to respond to when people call 911, bad car accidents and, things like that. And that doesn't ever like leave your soul when you see that stuff. So, and it stacks, so I think for firefighters and, I think police as well, and I'm sure military, but like the trauma is like a stacking trauma. So in the beginning of your career, you're like, oh, it's no big deal, or like you laugh it off or but like over 10, 15 years, it definitely, it builds and it gets worse. So I think that's, and that's something I focus on in the whole fire service in general. We're trying to like normalize talking about it and dealing with it and really focusing on mental health. Because when I was starting, it was not a big thing, and definitely the older generation didn't talk about it. And right now, suicides are like really high in the fire service. It's like one of the number one things that's killing us in the fire service.
Really? I've never heard this.
Because it's not talked about, but like,
and a lot of it is directly relating to the experiences you have, what you have to see, what you are handling. I
mean, I think so. And then I think the other, flip of the card that makes the job super hard is just the lack of sleep. And anyone that's studied the importance of sleep knows that it can cause a lot of problems.
Brain damage.
Yeah. And also like, I know for me, if I go, I work a 48-hour shift, but I've been at work up to 20 days straight. It's like 20, 24-hour shifts straight. And I know that if I go, several days with no sleep, I start to feel depressed. I start to feel like I start having thoughts that are not like,
healthy.
Yeah, not healthy. Yeah. And all I need to do is sleep. And I know that, but while I'm not sleeping, like my brain gets like kind of crazy. So I can't imagine what other firefighters that maybe don't have the emotional maturity to know that sort of thing, like what they deal with, and then you add in drugs and alcohol, probably not good combinations. And a lot of firefighters tend to like turn to those type of things to like deal with it. So lack of sleep mixed with drugs and alcohol, it's just a bad combo. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of firefighters that follow me, and I've had a lot of them come up to me and tell me that I've been like a huge positive impact in their life. People have quit drinking because, of my message, and a lot of people doing cold plunges because of my message, and a lot of people just exercising because of my message. Last year I did a 100-mile firefighter challenge where I challenged everybody to run 100 miles in one month. And I had, I think, like 20,000 people join.
No way.
Every state.
That's
and
amazing.
Then like, I think like 15 different countries, like firefighters from all over the world. And we all ran 100 miles, in that month, which, for a lot of people, that was probably the first time they'd ever run 100 miles in a month, And it's only,
that's a lot. It's like 25 miles a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
but just the idea of like being consistent, like 3 miles a day, and, yeah, a lot of guys have kind of like they've just continued running because of that. So
that's incredible.
I think, yeah, the mental health issues mixed with the lack of sleep, those are the biggest challenges with fire. And how do you get around the lack of sleep? Because people call 911 all night. You can't get around it. But if you can imagine being dead asleep and then you get a call and you have to like get up, get ready, get in the vehicle, drive, and someone's baby's dead and you have to like deal with it and like all the, how intense that can be. And that happens every day. So you stack that 15 years and, it's hard on the brain,
That is hard. what needs to be, I don't know if you can change anything about that position as far as the things that you guys are experiencing and that you're seeing. I mean, everything in my heart right now just wants to give every fireman a big hug. I mean, to experience the.
Well, I think what you have to do, and what I've done, is just really, you have to make sure that you're making exercise and staying physically fit a priority, especially at the firehouse. So as a leader, I make sure that like exercise is a priority, because I think exercise is probably one of the the best things that we can do to deal with trauma and stress and all that. We have like, we have therapists that they can go talk to, and all the things that go along with that. So you encourage that. If we have really traumatic calls, we bring out the therapist to like talk to the guys. But healthy lifestyle and diet and exercise should be emphasized, because those are the things that are going to help in the long run. Keeping that, just like how I started running and it got rid of the anxiety and depression. Like, there's a lot of endorphins and things that go along with exercise, and if you stay healthy in your career, it can really be helpful. I mean, half the reason I do these long ultra runs is because it really helps with the PTSD. And I've noticed like more and more firefighters like really getting into ultra running and really enjoying that aspect of it, because that period of the ultra where your brain just kind of goes quiet.
Yeah.
And like,
usually when you're hurting.
Yeah, but it's like, and all you kind of focus on is what I need to eat, what I need to drink.
Yes.
And that's it. And like, when's the next aid station? And everything else goes silent. Like that is
once you're past the first 20 miles of
your
ultra.
Yeah, where everything hurts and you're like, this is terrible. And then all of a sudden it just like silence. Like that's what I crave. And it's really helpful. And I actually was on the cover of International Firefighter talking about it, because,
it's a magazine?
Yeah, it's like it goes to every firehouse.
Do you have a picture of that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
yeah.
It's up on the screen right now. People can see this.
Yeah, so our union, the International Association for Firefighters, which covers, I think, 300,000 firefighters or something like that. It goes to every firehouse and everything like that. But me talking about how I deal with my PTSD and how I use ultra running and running to like deal with it. So, I think therapy and even medication can be helpful, but I think that exercise is really, really helpful, especially for a firefighter, because we all tend to have that sort of like type A personality, and we all kind of have that fire inside, that intensity. And so it needs to be channeled somewhere, and exercise is like a really good place to put it. So, and firefighters tend to sometimes, when they get older, they get a little fat and get a little lazy, they get a little tired. So
they've been working hard and pushing for so many years. They're like, I finally get to rest now.
Right. My I call my work wife, but the guy that he's been my partner for, well, not anymore because I'm a chief, but we were partners for like 12 years, and he's 59 years old, still working, and he's super fit. And, more or less because he and I were partners, and like, he ran like, I think 3 half marathons last year, and he made like a little Instagram, and he's like trying to encourage the older firefighters to like work out and do things, because it's like, and it's kind of cool, it's like he's reaching the older guys. So like, hey guys, like, don't you want to enjoy your retirement? Don't you want to retire healthy? Like, this is what you got to do, and so it's a cool thing.
When was the last time that you needed to go to a doctor, but you pushed it off? Made the excuse of, I'm too busy, or I don't know which doctor to go to. I think we've all been there. Booking a doctor appointment can just feel so daunting. But thanks to ZocDoc, there's no reason to delay. They make it so easy to find and book a doctor who's right for you. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care. Sally and I are always looking for ways to get things done efficiently and quickly, even when it comes to booking our doctor's appointments. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Sally to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/SALLY. ZocDoc.com/Sally. Over here at the McRae household, Sally is the laundry queen. Partly because she's always throwing in a load of sweaty training clothes after a run or a lift. Well, lately, all of our clothes that she's washed, and I've folded, thank you very much, have been smelling amazing. And it's all thanks to Italian bergamot laundry detergent pods from Laundry Sauce. These powerful pods tackle stains while leaving your clothes with a long-lasting cologne-quality scent. Laundry Sauce isn't just about smelling incredible, it's engineered for performance. And because spring is all about fresh starts, they revive fabrics, making your favorite pieces look and feel brand new. Maybe the best part about Laundry Sauce is that they offer a full money-back guarantee. If you don't get better smelling, cleaner laundry, you get a full refund, no questions asked. And for a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use code STRONG at laundrysauce.com. That's 20% off your order at laundrysauce.com with promo code STRONG. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. It's time to make Laundry Day the best day of the week.
You said this at the beginning when you first arrived at my house, how much it means to you that you can use your running to just encourage other people. Like that seems to be the passion of your heart. And which makes a lot of sense for what you do. I mean, you're in the business of rescuing people.
Yeah.
And your running is also rescuing people in other ways. And these are people you'll never meet. You'll never see face to face. I can only imagine how many messages that you get. I know you have fun reading the haters' messages too, which sometimes I wonder, sometimes I wonder if more and more people send it because they know that you're going to read it and then they just want to banter with you. But I do know that you directly encourage so many people. And again, I think it's because you're so relatable. You know, it's you didn't grow up in a way where everything was totally handed to you and you were just this golden boy that just graduated high school, got into the fire camp, like you live a very, very real life. And I think for most of us, the older we get, the more obstacles and challenges and setbacks, things that we never thought that we would either be in the middle of or bad decisions we've made or like whatever it is, it's the part of all human life. And so I think that what I would just love to hear you talk a little bit more about your running. I know you're known for all the running that you do, all the ultras that you do. And you have streaks that no one else in the world has. And the amount of 100s and 200s and now this 300 that you just did, the Arizona Monster 300, which just incredible. But Andy, your running is so connected into just who you are as a man and your career as a dad, as a father. You've taken it for a certain purpose, and you do it in such an extreme way that you're undeniable. And I think that's what's so powerful is like you're not just out there, and there's nothing wrong with running a mile a day or biking or doing other activities, but it's like you've taken it to such an extreme that it's like it's hard not to notice you. And I think sometimes when we see people do stuff at the upper level, it's like, well, they do it for very ulterior motives or superficial reasons or things that are going to fade. So I would just love to hear your heart just in running. I know that you do it. It helps you personally.
Yeah.
But talk about this, the impact that you're making and just these decisions and the way that you communicate with people about running.
Well, I mean, just kind of like how I talked about getting into fire and like wanting to, die knowing that I help people. And in fire, it's like, it's happened. Like I've saved people's lives and like, I'm like friends with them now. And like,
wow.
Like one of the guys I saved, I was on the team that saved him, but he came to my wedding. I talk to him every week and it's very impactful to know like, hey, I saved this guy's life. He's now a grandpa and all this stuff. But through the social media, I've reached, millions of people. And I'm making such a bigger impact. It's great to make the impact on the local level, like with my fire department, but it's like I reach people on a global level, which is just incredible. Like people from all over the world like messaged me, telling me how I've helped them or like, they didn't feel, even if it's just something silly, like they didn't feel like running and they saw that I was running and they're like, oh, Andy's running. I gotta go get my 3 miles, as long as that happens, that's a good thing. And I always just think it's kind of like that butterfly effect. I hope that somebody gets motivated by me and then they start working out, and then one of their friends gets motivated by them. And that friend has never heard of me. They only know this person. And it's like that butterfly effect of like, and then this person is going to motivate this person, and they don't know this friend or me, but and through a very long process, like, I'll inspire millions of people to run or exercise or just move their bodies. And I know that if people do that, they're going to be happier, they're going to be healthier, they're going to live better lives. And, I think that at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? To have a society that's happier and healthier, because at times, it's a dark place in this world. So for me in running, it's like, I love to run. People like to compare me to David Goggins, and I'm like, well, here's the thing about David Goggins. He hates running. I love running. Like, there at no point am I ever like, I don't want to run. I mean, at times, like, maybe I'm like, it's like pouring rain outside or something like that, and I'm like, this is going to suck for the first mile, but I know that once I get through that first mile of being cold and everything, I'm going to be good.
It's interesting you're compared to him, because your tagline is "Smile or you're doing it now."
Right. And he's like, stay hard or whatever.
It's like, just don't let anything penetrate you. You be hard.
Yeah.
I think that that's what's so great is you keep it, so simple.
Right.
And I think that we can, even in our times that are tough, it's incredible how we actually can still find things to smile about. And that could just be that we're alive.
Right. I mean, or I always tell people when like we're really in the pain cave at ultras, I'm like, hey man, are you at work right now? It's like, no. I'm like, yeah. Aren't you happy about that? Because I know I am. I mean, we all love our jobs, I'm sure, but there's the other places I'd rather be most of the time.
That's so true. This idolization that we are going to experience pain and suffering in a race. I've never been able to jump in on that.
Yeah.
I think, part of it is, and I'm sure you can relate to this, it's like when you know where you've come from, you're like, I can talk to you about pain and suffering.
Right. Yeah.
And it isn't a race that I signed up for. It isn't for something that cost me $500 that has aid stations and food and warm blankets where I can drop out at any time, and I have crew and friends. But then it's even elevated to, and I can speak to this because I'm a professional athlete, it's like, when we're making 6 and 7 figures and we have cameras on us all the time, and yet we then say, we talk about pain and suffering, it's opportunity.
Yeah.
That's all it is, period. If you are uncomfortable, if you experience that discomfort, that is opportunity to see how strong you are, to see what you're made of, and to work through it. But hopefully you then transfer that into your real life where there is pain and suffering, where where you can help other people, or where you do work through a tough situation. You go back and you remember what happened in that race and what you pushed through to get to that finish line. That's incredible. The race is the opportunity. The pain and suffering happens in real life.
I'm trying to teach that to my son right now when we're training for a marathon, and it's like during the hard points, I'm like, what you're going to do with this, you're pushing through this hard point right now. But in real life, when you have a hard time, you're going to reflect back and you're going to be like, well, I did that 20 miles and that was hard. So this really in real life is not all that hard, because I know what hard is, and it's like, it's what I did out there running a marathon or whatever. This is difficult, but it's not like, I can still get through it, but still, like, I do like the idea of that, like, having to work really hard to get to that pain and suffering, because it takes a while.
It does take a while.
When you get there, it's kind of like, for me, I worked hard to get here. So people are like, how do you push through the pain? It's like, it's not necessarily that I push through it. It's that I'm like, oh, I'm here. Finally, it took me 80 miles to get here. And like, that's a lot of hard. You can't fake 80 miles. You can't, you have to run 80 miles to get to that point. And so when you get to that point, you're like, oh, I made it. I'm here, and then be happy about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. You can't fake 80 miles.
No.
And to that point too, it's acknowledging that there's not a lot of situations in our life where we experience the discomfort that we do in races, where we purposely choose to put ourselves in those situations, and we feel that ache and we feel that sleep deprivation.
Right.
And it is so unique what we sign up for, but what we learn about ourselves along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely learn some Important lessons.
Well, speaking of important lessons, we all want to know how your 300-mile race was. That was one of
Those are the questions.
That's one of the highlights of this podcast. The first 300-mile race went down just a couple weeks ago. You came in here walking like you.
It was only a week. Only a week
ago. You look great. You're moving well.
Yeah.
But is also a testament to your dedication and commitment to running. Your body is like, it's primed for this. But give us a little summary, Andy. Let's hear about the Arizona Monster 300, which you are about to tack on the Cocodona 250. So if you don't follow Andy yet on social media, you will by the end of this podcast, but you have coined it.
The Coco Monster 550.
Coco Monster, 550 miles, my friends. 550 miles. That is absolutely incredible. Tell us about Arizona Monster.
So first year, so there's always going to be a little hiccups, but it was a good race. Like, it was on the Arizona Trail. I've never run south of Phoenix before, so that was like kind of a cool experience. I like to run in new places, and the Arizona Trail is a sweet trail. Like, I can understand why so many people try to do FKTs on it and everything. It's an 800-mile trail from Mexico to Utah.
Okay.
And this was just, like a 300-mile, not really, it was probably like 240 miles of the trail, but mostly very runnable, nice trail. We went up and over a couple mountain ranges, but nothing like no big. I mean, there was one big mountain range, but the rest were like pretty runnable. It was just really hot. Really, we had unseasonably like a hot week, so it was like close to 100 every day, which.
Of course it was.
Yeah. It was supposed to be 81, and I'm looking at my watch.
That was Moab also.
Yeah, it was like 99.
Whereas like
Moab.
The following week it was nice and cool.
Yeah. So, but beyond the heat, I mean, beautiful, lots of, cactus blooming and lots of different, I saw javelina, I saw horny toads, I saw all sorts of like snakes and things like that. So,
Andy, a lot of us know what you saw because
I
think that more people were following your account for updates than the actual race.
Right.
So
yeah.
It was pretty incredible, the story that you're telling, what we were able to see. And as more and more people kept dropping, I think like 100 people dropped out of the race. We were just rooting so hard. Andy's got to get to the finish line.
Yeah. It got a little rough there at the end, but I got through it with my white face from like all the sunblock I put on and like, I did it solo and unsupported, which I do most of my races. And,
Is there a reason why you choose to do that? Is that just to represent people that don't have that support or?
No, it's like kind of like twofold. One, I like to be self-sufficient and I like to work through complex problems by myself.
You learned how to do that in the wilderness
really
well.
And I did. And I still really enjoy that puzzle. And then two, it's like, I feel bad having people like helping me. I don't like asking people for help, and I don't like people waiting like for hours at an aid station for me to come in and be there for 5 minutes.
There's probably thousands of people that are like, I would. How often are you hit up on social media?
A lot. Yeah. No, I get it, but I just feel bad. I don't know why.
Is it hard for you to believe that they're genuine?
No, I mean, one year at Moab, my buddy Cody just like was like, I'm coming and I'm crewing you. And I was like, I don't have any options. He's like, nope. And he came and he crewed me.
And did you feel bad the whole time?
I did feel bad. But he's coming this time because I've DNF'd Moab twice now. So he's coming to crew me this time. He's like, we will be successful. So yeah, I will have a full crew at Moab to make sure I'm successful.
I love it.
But in general, I sometimes just like to be by myself, At the firehouse, I'm around people all the time. Then I come home and I have a full family and I'm around them. Not that I'm complaining, but I don't get a whole lot of like just Andy time. And then when I run, I have to make all these like business calls and I'm on the phone a lot. And
okay. That's how, because I'm like, dude, how in the world do
Yeah.
you run for 6 days and then you just check out? But you don't.
No.
You work.
Yeah.
You get on calls.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's,
So you put is that why you're wearing double?
my double headset. Yeah, that was.
Did you know that?
Well, when I put it on, I was like, I was like, why am I hearing this like twice? It was like coming through both of them at the same time, and I was like so confused.
What is the name of those? The shock?
Yeah, shocks.
So the shocks, they don't go all the way in your ear, so
No,
you can hear.
It's bone conducting.
It's bone conducting.
Yeah.
And you typically wear those?
I always do.
Is that like your
Yeah.
favorite?
Yeah.
And of course you have backup ones because
Yeah.
the race is so long. You
Right.
need some backup ones.
I have 3 pairs that I run with. Yeah.
Right. So were you just at a state where you're like, oh yeah, I can't forget these?
I must have put on like I must have been at an aid station and I like took out the new ones. Or no, I get them out of my backpack. I must have got it out of my backpack and then put them on, turned them on and put them on, and then not taken the old ones off. So they were both on. And then I was just, when I came to the real, I'm like, oh God, I got to film this. I'm like, am I wearing 2 pairs? You know? So yeah. I was out of it out there, you know. It was I was in some rare spots talking to robot dogs and, you know, all sorts of fun hallucinations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great seeing that in the video though. That's why you were such a fun follow. You just like totally keep it real and your sleep and Eli coming out of middle of nowhere to stalk you.
I think like what I try to do like in races, because I mean, I'm older now and like I got a lot going on in life, so I can't train like I used to train. And then I have my 100 miles for streak and all this other stuff. So I just kind of like mid-pack it now. And, you know, everybody follows the winners. You know, that's very exciting, you know, who's in the lead, everything. And I'm kind of just like, I'm representing like the everyday ultra runner, you know? And
you
just
represent most.
Like what the experience is like for everybody else who spends like, you know, like Pete finished the race in like 90 hours and I finished it in like 135. So it's like, obviously it's quite a different experience, you know?
2 more days.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm showing a different side, but it's the side that if you get into ultra running, this is the side you're going to see.
Yeah.
You're not going to see the Pete side, you know, like you're going to see the Andy side.
That's the 0.0001%.
Yeah.
And like that goes back to why you're so relatable, you know? Most people are middle pack because there's only a handful at the front.
Yeah. And you know, when I was like young and single and like all the things, like I won a bunch of races, you know, because I lived in the mountains. I had no girlfriend, no anything, and all I did was run mountains all day, you know. And when you do that, you know, you get fast and you get strong and like you can win races. But when you have a family and like a very high profile job and all these things, it's like, it's harder to put the same amount of, you know, time in to get the results that if you want to win.
I love that you've been on both sides of that because I'm curious how those experiences have been and just like how you approach those races. Do you still get the same fulfillment?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just finishing is what is the fulfillment now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like really great. I mean, it's fun to win, you know, I know what it feels like to be chased for 80 miles. I know what it feels like to chase for 80 miles, you know, it's a different feel, you know, and I know what it feels like to be able to redline for like long periods of time. But it's also fun to just kind of like get the party pace and just kind of like, just grind and, you know, and stop and take pictures and videos and do all the things, you know, so.
Well, you're you aren't just a casual athlete. I think when people think of signing up for a 100-mile race, they do envision a 6 to 9 month buildup for that. But I don't know a lot of people in the universe who can just a couple days before a race sign up for one because you are perpetually in shape for one.
Right.
Because you're always running them. So you have built up this very unique, insanely rare body that is, you've made that normal for yourself. Whereas like the casual everyday recreational runner, they're doing 3 to 5 miles a few days a week. Like that's not hard for them because that's the normal. Like that, I just go get my 3 to 5 miles in. Like I feel good. Like I'll lift a couple times a week. Like that's kind of like, generally speaking, a really healthy lifestyle. But you have somehow normalized for your body that running 100 miles is your warm up. And you now have another 100, 150, 200 miles to go. And you can do that. Do you ever like give yourself credit or just think about how amazing that is? I'm curious because you showcase what the haters say and all of that. But I don't actually think that people can even conceptualize what your body is capable of doing. I think scientists should probably study it.
I mean, not really. I mean, I know it's, I do race a lot and I do a lot of, I don't really have an off season. So, but not really. I mean, I'm just doing what I do. I don't know. I don't think too hard about it. And
well, I celebrate you.
Okay.
And you're just an incredible example of what we actually don't know about what the human body is capable of. Because I think sometimes when we think of people doing hard stuff, we're like, oh, that's like the top tier pro athlete that's right. Like you
Yeah.
think of just this weird genetic specimen that's like, well, of course they can do that, right? But you're living this life as a dad, you have a career, and you're doing stuff that is entirely uncommon.
Yeah, I think the weirdest thing for me is just how much people tell me that, it's bad for my knees and all this stuff. And like, I mean, hand to God, like I've never had knee pain. Like, and I don't know how many miles I've run because, I've been running since we used to keep track in like notebooks and stuff.
You use MapQuest to find...
MapQuest, and then you
or track your run
even before that, you had to drive.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it. I've done it all. Back when Garmin used to upload it into an Excel file, and so I don't know exactly. I have over 50,000 miles on just Strava alone. So I've run a lot of miles, and like I'm pain free. I don't have. I mean, obviously, as I'm getting older, things take longer to recover, and you get the aches and pains. But like all the stuff that everybody tells you is like, I don't know if it's just like I'm my form or what it is, but like I don't really have any like major issues for the amount I've run. So if eventually I get to a point where I can't run because of some debilitating thing, like at least I'm gonna know like, well, I ran 100,000 miles, so like I put a lot of miles on the body. It's like worth it, yeah, So
people who are doing far less than you are telling you what you should and shouldn't do, and I always think it's so important to remember that, especially when you're of great influence, when you're well known around the world, is that there's probably only like one or two people that can actually like genuinely speak into your life, that understand you, that know what your dedication looks like, what you're capable of doing. Most people won't ever be there. And so they actually don't have any space to say what they say, especially the critics. It's like, what critic in your life are you inspired by? Who's the critic that you're like, I want to be like them?
Yeah, none.
It's like, also, it's like, wow, can you imagine for critics? It's like, imagine if you took all that time and energy and went and worked on yourself and went and worked on a goal. You went and worked on a dream, and you went and like, or maybe even tried even 5% of what Andy is doing.
Yeah.
You'd probably stop talking.
Yeah. I mean,
so there's your response. That's just me sticking up for you. But...
Well, and they always want to, compare and, compare. It's like,
It's hard. I think it's hard to compare, especially in ultra.
Yeah. Well,
especially as it's evolved, right?
But it's like the one thing I really dislike about running and the running community is like our obsession with pace.
Yeah.
And just how everything is compared to like how fast you accomplished it. And I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of people to get over, especially early in their running career, is you're taught in high school that it's all about how fast you can do it. You go into anything outside high school, it's like 5Ks, 10Ks. It's like, how fast can you run the 5K? How fast can you run? It's just like sprint, sprint, sprint. There's something about just, running slow and just enjoying the pace and not like killing yourself at every run that's really fulfilling. But like, yeah, I mean, the biggest hate comments are always about how fast or how slow I did something. And the thing is like when I was younger, I was fast, and I can look back, but like I'm 47 right now. I'm not like a little spring chicken. And I know there's the Jeff Brownings and stuff like that are like incredibly fast in their 50s, but I'm not Jeff Browning. So, I'm okay with that. Jeff's awesome, and like, more power to him, but I'm not Jeff. I'm not Jesse, like these older guys are just studs in their 50s. Like, I'm slowing down and I'm enjoying, being slower.
Yeah.
So.
I think that having perseverance, having endurance, having strength, for whatever reason, the focus just on pace, it's cool when people do stuff really fast. It's fun to get on the podium, and you're right. That's always the focus. I mean, look at the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the sports are about how fast you do it, how quickly, what's the intensity, what's the power behind it, and it's points too. How many points can you score? How many?
Yeah.
And we focus so much on what the numbers are, and it's interesting too, because that's also what keeps people from trying.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to
And
influence.
they won't call themselves a runner ever.
Right.
I'm sure you've shown up to run clubs before.
Yeah.
Or led group runs,
Yeah.
and one of the first things people will say is like, "Hey, like, I'm
can't
not
keep up
really a
with you."
runner. I just
Yeah.
want you to know, like, I just came out, like, I'm more like 13-minute pace." And you're like, "Okay." And I said this when we were in Bentonville, Arkansas a couple weeks ago. I was actually with Max. We did a last-minute group run, and it was amazing how many people showed up. And I always get that. You always get the couple that they have to make sure that that they are not runners,
Right.
or that they're not like good runners
Yeah.
in their mind. However they come about it, it always is because of pace.
Yeah.
There's no one that's fast that's ever said that to me. But one of the things that I said to this group, I said, listen, there's 700,000 people in Bentonville. Look around. How many people showed up this morning? And that it should always be the reason why you keep going is very few will show up. And those who show up accomplish way more than those who are too afraid to show up because they've evaluated themselves in the wrong way. We evaluate ourselves according to a pace or intensity, when really that is not the purpose of life.
Right.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
And whether you do it slowly and patiently, like, we're all trying to get to that final finish line, but so many people will not show up for themselves because they're so afraid of what the critics are going to say, that they're not fast enough. They don't look a certain way. And so I'm just not going to show up anyway. And I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, I put everything on Strava, and I sometimes, like, if I've been up all night at work, I'll go out and get my miles. I'll run like a 14-minute mile because I'm so tired. I'm carrying a radio. I got all this stuff. I'm wearing these like stupid basketball shorts, and like, I'm still going to put it on Strava. I don't care. I want people to know I'm running slow, and people will talk. They'll say their things, but like, there's a lot of people out there that run 14-minute miles, and it's like, I'm proud of them. So I think that that's a good message to remind people that just don't worry about what pace you were running. And in fact, if you're so worried about it, don't even look at your watch while you're running. If you want to track how many miles you are, that's great, but don't worry about it. So a mile is a 6-minute mile, and a mile is a 14-minute mile. It's just still a mile.
Yeah.
So, and as I've gotten older and slower, that's I get attacked for that a lot, but I was once very fast and very young, but not anymore.
Yeah. Well, let's keep talking about that, Andy.
Okay.
Because what ends up happening is more and more people feel like they belong, which I know you get those messages too, where people feel like, man, you make me feel like I can do it. You make me feel like I belong and that there is a chance. And I think one of the saddest things I hear over and over again is that is why people don't show up. They don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they look the part, or they can do it. And so they just don't do anything at all.
Right. Well, and some of the lessons I try to teach my kids is just like, you're never good at anything in the beginning. You have to it's a very slow process to get there. And you just have to start, and you're going to be terrible. And then the next day you're going to be terrible. And the next day and it's just going to be like this very slow progression. And then after weeks and weeks and weeks, eventually you're going to be a little bit better. And then you're going to be a little bit better. And then eventually you're going to get somewhere where you're like, oh, this is actually a good thing. But it's that start point where you're like just terrible, and you're terrible every day. That's very, very hard to get over. Like for this year, we do like a physical fitness evaluation at work every year. And this year we had to do push-ups, and I did terrible. Like I could only do 28 push-ups, and I will tell you that was like
That's
embarrassed. No, that's terrible.
Is there a number everyone has to hit?
No, but I was.
They just want to see what your max is.
Yeah, and it was terrible. And for a firefighter, that's embarrassing. And so, I literally was like, this is unacceptable. And so I started doing push-ups like every day, and
have you improved?
I have. So I can do 70 straight now.
Oh my, that's amazing.
But it's taken me. Say I started in November, and now we're in April. So it's taken me, like almost 6 months, but I can do 70 straight now. And Sam is like, I could only do one pull-up, and now I can do 10, but it was the same thing. It's like I started and I could only do one pull-up. And so I would do one pull-up, and then I would wait a minute, and then I would do another pull-up, and then I would wait a minute, and I would do another. And I just like slowly built the strength, and now I can do 10. And it's just the process of like, that's how running is. Like you run a mile and it's terrible and you're painful and your knees hurt and your ankles hurt, everything hurts. The next day, you take a rest day, then the next day you do it again. It gets a little bit easier, or maybe it doesn't. Then a couple more days, and it's just like this slow progression. But if you keep at it, you stay consistent, you'll get there. So, and I know that a lot of people know this, but it's like, it's just good to like remind yourself that anything you're going to start in life, you're going to be terrible at. So my kids have a very hard time with that because they just want to be good at everything right at the bat. It's
they
no.
want things quickly.
When Hayden and I started like train for this marathon, he could only run 2 miles.
Tell us about Hayden.
So Hayden's 14. He just turned 14, and like I think it was November. He said, he's like, do you think I could run a marathon? I go, yeah, I think you could run a marathon, but it's going to take a lot of training. I go, do you want to run a marathon? He's like, yeah, I think I do.
Wow.
And then I was like, do you want to make the commitment?
Yeah. Who's going to carry the boat, son?
And then it was like, I'm like, because I'm like, if you make the commitment, it's going to happen. Do you understand? Like, and he's like, yeah, I'll make the commitment.
Wow.
And so we've literally been training since November, and we ran 20 miles, I think last week, or no, I was before the Arizona Monster we ran.
And that was the video that he let you post, because I remember seeing that and I was like, oh, he let him post. And I like get it. I'm like, he let him post that video.
99.9% of the time, he won't even let me put it. Like if his shoes are in it, he won't let me do it. Like last night we were running and like we hit this mud and we got mud all over our legs and our shoes. And I'm like, I got to film this because he has like these bright white shoes.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not posting that. I'm like, it's your shoes. He's like, it's my legs. It's like, okay. So I didn't post it, but So but it's just very slow progression from 2 miles, and now he's running 20, and we're going to run the Salt Lake City Marathon next week, and and then he's like, and then I'm not running another marathon. I'm like, it's fine, like most people only run like a marathon a year, anyways. Like,
most people don't run marathons.
Yeah, it's true. But and we'll switch to something else. I'm like, he wants to like bench 135. I'm like, all right, we'll shift and we'll focus on upper body strength. I'm like totally fine with it. But
can we pause there for a second? Yeah. He probably won't tell you directly, but you are his hero.
I hope so.
Look at him setting these goals.
Yeah.
Like that's what he knows to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm like really trying to get him physically fit because he's terrible at school. And I told him, if you're going to be terrible at school, you got to be strong. So, those are your options. So, I love that. I mean, you're okay at school, Hayden. Just
You know what? I don't think, traditional school doesn't always work out for all kids. And there's a lot of people listening who have made an amazing life for themselves, not doing great in school.
Yeah. I mean, he's a boy, it's like, it's the easiest way I can put it is, but he has found a couple friends that are really into like lifting weights and being fit and like so,
which is kind of cool in their age group now, like on social media. Yeah, because Isaiah, our son, who he's 17, just a few years older than your son, they go and lift all the time.
Yeah,
and then he keeps.
I wish I had that
in his bedroom, and then he does more. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's just what
I definitely did not have that as a kid.
Yeah,
the one gym in Redlands when I was growing up was terrible. It was like probably about the size of this living room here, and it's like, it was like that was all we had. So,
a Gold's Gym, something like that,
something very small. Yeah.
So you're going to be running a marathon with your son. How are you feeling about that? Is that like a dream come true experience? Are you nervous about it? I mean, this is going to be a core memory for him. You realize he will talk about this when he's your age and beyond.
Yeah. I always say to him, I go, you're either going to be bragging about this to your friends or talking about it to your therapist. So,
that's so true.
It's like, my dad made me run a marathon. I'm like, you made the decision. No, I'm excited. I mean, for me, the last 6 months has just been amazing because I've just gotten so much one-on-one time with him where it's just he and I running. Yeah. I mean, we do 4 to 5 miles every night and then like, a long run. And not every night because I work, but on the days I have him. And then a long run, and it's fun, and it's also fun for me to like see him have to push through the pain cave and I'll do all that sort of stuff because, I know how uncomfortable that can get. And, he gets real quiet. I'm like, you doing okay? He's like, I'm just locked in right now, Dad. Just locked in.
I love it. I love that. And you guys have conversations.
Yes. About life and everything. Yeah. It's been really, I tell him all the time, I'm like, this is like the best time of my life right now. I hope you know that like I am so happy right now. And he's like, well, why do you have to be happy while we're running? Can't we do this? And I'm like, because there has to be some suffering involved in order for us to really connect. It strips everything else down.
That's so true.
So
I say that when I go running with Mackenzie.
Yeah,
it's literally like my most favorite time ever.
And just watching them run, it's just like, oh, it's so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And how did he feel about you running your 300?
No.
What was like that for your whole family? Because I follow Lauren too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lauren.
Yeah.
We love you, Lauren. We know you put up with a lot.
Yeah, she does. Lauren was a wreck because she was worried about me. But Hayden
is that typical?
Yeah,
most of your races.
Yeah. She's always worried that something's going to happen, and rightfully so because
stuff has happened.
I've had a lot of bad things happen to me at races, so I've gotten hurt a lot. When you race a lot, bad things can happen. But no, so he doesn't have social media, so he doesn't get to see it all. But all his friends have it. So when he was at school, they were all showing him and all that sort of stuff. And yeah.
That's incredible. Is that a rule in your house? Can't have it till you're a certain age?
No, it's that he hasn't handled it responsibly. So
good job, Dad. No,
yeah,
we've taken it from our kids at certain times too, and that's their whole world.
Right, it is. Yeah. So, well, it's funny because when he was younger, I'd be like, "Hey, what do you want to do for a living?" And he'd be like, "I want to be a YouTuber."
Yes.
I'm like but now he's like has no interest in like any being on like social media at all. But I think that's how like a lot of the friends and everything they all communicate that way and do that. So, but he wasn't responsible enough, so he got it taken away.
Yeah.
And maybe someday he'll get it back and he can prove us wrong. But for right now,
well, he's going to look back when he's an adult and say, I had a great dad who really cared about me.
Yeah.
He'll thank you when he's an adult.
Right.
But when they're kids, you're not cool.
It's hard to see that. But his friends show him it and I show him the videos and stuff. But all his friends are like, do you know your dad was talking to robot dogs?
That's right.
Yeah. Do you know your dad was losing it and like showing him all the videos? Do you know that he was sleeping in a tunnel with, like with graffiti all over the back, inappropriate graffiti,
Yes.
So,
you were so fun to follow during that race. Did you really feel like it was much of a difference from Cocodona 250 as far as distance went? Like, did you pass 250 and you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't imagine another day?
No, I think for me, once you get past like 150 miles, then it's like it's all the same. You're just
it blends.
You're just moving forward to the finish. You're just aid station to aid station. You just get to that point. Like I think the first 150 miles, you're still kind of in that zone where like you could still quit. Like so you just could. But like once you get past 150, you're like just your brain's shut off and you're just like, I'm just surviving. I know how long to the next aid station? 17 miles. All right, let's go. That's going to take me 12 hours. Let's go, or whatever it is, do I have enough food? Do I have enough water? You do your checklist and then you start moving. So, no, I never, I mean, 250 is far. I almost feel like Cocodona feels farther though, because there's so many sections that aren't really runnable.
Oh my gosh. Like the Baby Head rocks that you descend into Jerome, I think.
Yeah. Off Mingus Mountain.
Yeah.
That is the worst section. Well, you don't even know. Year one, they took us down this crazy fire road, and
that's right. It's changed like every year.
Yeah, and there was like all these bees that stung us. That was
no way.
That was not fun at all. So,
everyone was getting stung by these bees.
Because they were like in the dirt of the trail as we went down, and there's no way to avoid them.
That is crazy.
Because it was the same thing, like a cliff on the side.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So people that were allergic weren't having
probably not a good time.
Yeah.
Hope they had their EpiPen.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, there's just sections of Cocodona, so it just ends up slowing you down. So it feels like 250.
Like the field.
Oh yeah,
you're like, I'm going to run through this. No, you're not. There's nowhere to put your foot.
Yeah, we're like, well, if
it's going to be on the same plane.
And you have all those little cacti that are like, if you don't look for them, you kick them. I kicked them, and then you're picking those things out of your toes.
Yeah.
So this one was definitely more runnable, so it had like a different vibe.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the course. So you talked about, I know Mingus Mountain was huge. I feel like that's where so many people.
Lemon
Mountain was where Mingus.
Yeah,
different race.
Yeah.
Lemon Mountain was. It seemed like so many people dropped out as a result of that mountain, or just
the front pack people, they all got hit with a snowstorm. So it must have and it was at nighttime. So they must have got real cold. I mean, it was 9,000 foot peak, so it's going to be cold no matter what. I hit it in the hottest part of the day.
That's crazy.
So it was weird because it was like it felt really hot during the climb, and then when we got to the aid station, it was like freezing cold. And I don't know if it's just because I like stopped moving.
Yeah.
But like I got to the aid station, I was like shivering. It's just a 14-mile climb uphill. Like it's hard. I don't know.
What was the terrain? Was the terrain at least like?
It was rocky and a thin trail. And then there were sections where you kind of went up and over. You just kept going like up and over peaks, like this on the way up.
It's like it feels like a false summit over and over. You think you're getting to the top.
You saw probably 20 false summits.
Oh,
so
that's a hard mountain.
It is, yeah.
Was that your first time on it ever in your life?
I'd never seen it before too, and I didn't know where we were going. So you're going up, and then you see like a whole mountain over here. And you see like this little village, and I think it's a ski village, but I thought that's where we were going. So the whole time I'm like looking, I'm like, how are we going to get over there? And then like we're almost to, I'm like, my watch is saying we're going to be here any second, but I'm looking over there and it's still like another 2 miles up. And then we came and there was just a parking lot and I was like, oh, thank God, we're done. But yeah.
And that's where the aid station was?
Yeah, it was just like a parking lot. It was like we just came around a turn and it was just there. And I was like, the watch is right. Yeah.
So you climbed for 14 miles. You descended 17?
Yeah. And it was a hard 17 descent.
Was there any aid station in between any of that?
Yeah. The aid station was at the top at 14.
So top of 14.
And then 16 miles down.
What was that aid station like up there? Was it pretty minimal or?
No, it was good. I had 2 big old vegan burgers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I ate a bunch at a porta potty. I destroyed it,
You destroyed the porta potty?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I got my wet wipes. I went in there and did some work, got 10 pounds lighter,
Always feels amazing,
it's
though.
just so good.
You're like, I'm ready for the descent now.
Got to have the wet wipes. I ate 10 pounds of food and then I got rid of 10 pounds.
Got rid of it?
Yeah. So.
What was that descent like? I feel like this is kind of like the big part of the race.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like if you can survive the Mingus.
It's my fault.
The lemon section. Then.
And what miles were that?
So the aid station was 128. So
this is why it took people out.
114 to 128, and then
people are starting. Maybe they had slept yet. Maybe they're thinking they can push through to the other side of the mountain. It's once you go past that mile 100, it's
so
the race is real.
They're sitting at the bottom of the mountain and they're at 114.
Oh, wow.
And they know they have this crazy climb ahead of them. So I think
is that a sleep station at the bottom too?
I don't remember if it was.
I wonder if that's the strategy.
Yeah.
Sleep before you climb. Do you think that? Did you?
No.
Had you slept at that point yet?
I'm sure
or napped. At least had a little like.
I think I think I did take a nap. I tried at mile 77. I tried to take like a nap, and I could only fall asleep for like 10 minutes, but I laid down for like an hour.
That's good.
Yeah. So I knew I was at least resting my body, even though I only knocked out for like 10 minutes. That was the first time I slept. Mm-hmm. But it was like, normally my sleep strategy is to not sleep at aid stations because they're so loud.
They're so loud.
And
it's like ironic, right?
I'm going to bring like earplugs next time, which I've never done before. But so I slept at this aid station, but it was just because it was so hot and there's no shade. So I couldn't find anywhere to like trail nap because I'm not just going to lay in the like full sun,
totally.
And so I tried to sleep in this aid station. Didn't really work, but that was the first place I slept. And then I don't think I slept again for quite a while. That's why I got all that. I saw the robot dogs and everything on the way down of Lemon, and I was like really out of it. Like, yeah, like this guy like came up on me right after I'd seen the dogs, and he like saved my race because he said I was stumbling around. I was like talking to plants, and then he came up and then I was like really out of it. And then he started talking to me, and then it like snapped. Once you start engaging your brain, you can have a conversation with somebody. I like just snapped out of it, and then I was able to stick with him for like the next 10 miles till we got to the next aid station. So
that's really powerful. Those distances are becoming more and more popular. The question is always about sleep. Strategy, all of that. That's a really interesting thing to point out is once you engage with somebody, your brain starts to act a little bit differently.
And that's why pacers are so awesome.
Yeah.
because the pacer will keep your brain, even if like they're not saying much, it still keeps your
Or
brain.
telling you even a story.
Yeah, it'll keep your brain engaged enough so you don't get sleepy and you can focus.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I try to like make it harder on myself. So it's like, but
You didn't have anyone pace you?
No, nobody paced me. But I met a lot of cool people because, I would run with them and we would talk.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, him and his daughter were doing that race together.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. And he ended up beating his daughter.
Really?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. He actually saved me again at like mile 250. I was doing the same thing and he came up on me and was like, Andy, what are you doing here? I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm trying to get to this aid station, but I'm falling asleep as I'm walking. So yeah, we hiked the last like 2 miles into the aid station.
And then you slept there.
Yeah. And then I saw him again at supposedly it was like mile 290. And then, yeah.
And no, like we were saying, not a lot of people ran 300 miles.
Yeah, my watch did. I think I was like 282.
Mm-hmm. We
Something
saw a
like
lot of
that.
280s,
Yeah.
low 290s.
I was always, I don't know, 5 or 6 miles off of where they said I should have been. And then towards the end, I think I was 11 miles off.
Yeah. Well, we saw a lot. It was saying it was 309 miles.
Right. Well, at first it was 309, and then they made some changes of the course, and it was supposed to be 304. So, but,
Who I know.
Who knows?
And even the longer you go in these races, it is hard to
Have
get
you ever heard of a Garmin
accurate,
have 300 miles on a watch? I mean, who knows how accurate it is when
exactly.
it's going for 135 hours straight.
That's so true.
So I think that's also the struggle is like what we see on our watch might not necessarily be 100%
and you have all these different watches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Totally. So Lemon was a hard mountain. What did you think of the course?
I thought it was beautiful.
Because people listening are like, should I do that next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really good. It was very runnable. Besides, obviously the Lemon section.
You had 40 miles on a bike path. Tell us what that was like, because that was like at mile 160.
Yeah, I mean, so the bike path was not ideal. I switched to Clifton's. It's a
road shoes.
Yeah, the funny thing is. So my son and I have been training on the Santa Ana River Trail.
Oh yeah,
yeah. For his
you ran your birthday miles there.
Yeah, I did. For my birthday. I ran 75 miles.
Yeah,
but
which, by the way, your recent reel.
Yeah,
about a homeless guy attacking you and a dog.
That was me. That was me and Hayden running his 20 miles.
But I was like, that's so SoCal.
Oh yeah, it's like, the river trail too.
So the river trail.
Yeah.
Like if you're not from around here, like I know some people are like, what? And you're like, that's just that is what it's like.
My son was shocked though because it was like, he's like, these dogs like surrounded us and one dog came at me and I got it right in the face. And then and then the homeless lady came out and started like, I'm going to, tried to attack us.
Because of the dog situation?
Yeah.
That's
and I'm
crazy.
Yeah. It gets a little dicey there on the river trail, but because of that, I've been used to running on like a trail like that. So it was like pretty easy for me. To the aid station was like, I'm not sure how many miles, we'll say 18 miles. And I held a really good pace, which was kind of cool.
It was nice to be able to just move.
Yeah.
In a different way.
And not have to worry about tripping on a rock and all that. And then I also had probably 25 people come out and either run with me or bring me popsicles or bring me sparkling water.
That's amazing.
That was really cool too because people were tracking me and people wanted to take pictures.
People had signs and pictures. Okay, that's super cool. We didn't get to see too much of that.
No.
But I love that.
But yeah, I did. That was a cool part of it. But then the second half.
So it was 18 miles of the first aid station.
And then I had to do
then 22 more miles.
Probably, or I don't know.
And it was mainly just flat.
It was mainly flat, but I got the brunt of the hottest part of the day on it, and that was pretty brutal.
That is brutal. That late into the race when you're so tired.
Yeah,
Arizona sun hitting you.
Because I think that was 170 or 180 to 200 somewhere around there.
Oh god.
So. Yeah, and then when you finish that, the next little section was kind of crappy too. It was it was like a road.
So you were still a wide Jeep road?
It started like a dirt road, and then there was I think 5 miles of pavement, a road.
That's crazy.
And to get back to the Tucson section, I guess one thing they're going to have to address is, I guess some women were harassed by homeless people and teenagers and stuff on the trail. Women felt unsafe
That's crazy.
And I guess
where was this?
This was in the Tucson.
In Tucson.
Yeah. And I guess that section is like notorious for not being such a kind of like our river trail. You know,
yes.
That's their river trail. So I think that'll probably have to be something that is addressed next year.
We need to reroute.
Yeah,
maybe?
or reroute, or just have some sort of security or something like that. Like patrols.
How long did that last? Was it like a few miles where people didn't feel good, or? That's a bummer.
I don't know. I mean, it was a substantial section where you're running through. It's just like the river trail. You look down in the river, and they got the homeless camps down there, and then there's like people on the side, like smoking fentanyl and doing the whole thing. So I went through it in the middle of the day. I can't imagine what it was like
at night
at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think that was like,
especially when you're coming all lit up.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're someone that's listening to music or you don't have a pacer, that is, what do you got?
Exactly. And I heard that was a little sketchy. And then when we were up running on that road section, there was all these cops, and I was like trying to figure it out. And when I got to the next aid station, one of the guys had said that somebody tried to run them over with their car when they were on the road. And
runner? Like
one of us. Yeah, one of the runners.
Oh my gosh.
And so they had called the police, and the police were up there trying to like find the car that had tried to like run the runner over.
That's crazy.
And then this is like in the middle of nowhere. Like it's like you're running on this road and there's like nothing around. Like I don't know what car would have been even driving on there.
But sometimes it's the middle of nowhere where there's like nothing to do.
Yeah.
And,
we'll just mess with this runner.
Yeah. And you're aware of anything that's happening, right?
Yeah.
I used to live out Menifee, Sun City area before it was developed.
Right.
And that's kind of how it is out there.
Great area.
Before it was developed, too.
Even
there were sheep behind our fence in our backyard.
Yeah.
Herds of sheep. And just miles and miles. All around you of just dirt and hills. But it's interesting. If there's not a lot to do out there, you kind of find your own stuff to do. And so sometimes it's either the kids that are getting themselves in trouble, but you're also aware of like people that don't, like, why are you here? Like you're aware of people that aren't.
Right, you don't belong.
That don't belong, yeah.
But I think like the struggle with the Tucson section is that the Arizona Trail goes through like national forest there or something, and so they couldn't get permits.
Oh,
and so like
it
was some sort of governmental land issue.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was like state or national or like federal or like whatever. Like, but like that's why they had to do that. So I don't know if they'll do it in the future or what. But I mean, it was a nice leg break, but by the end of it, my body was so beat up from just being on pavement. Like I was so sore, and I'm like, why am I so sore? And then someone's like, well, maybe it's because you ran 200 miles. I'm like, well, yeah. Besides that though, like I'm like sore on a level that I'm not used to. And it was just from being on that pavement for so long.
Yeah.
You know? And then as soon as I started running on the dirt again, it went away, and I felt
wow.
better. But
so you did the 40 miles. You were excited to get off and do something new, and it was just kind of crappy again.
Yeah, it was another like probably, I don't know, 10 miles of crappiness after that.
So 50 miles that were rough.
Yeah, rough.
And then you got back onto trail.
Yeah, and then doing 100 miles on the Arizona Trail, and it was the last section was really nice. We had this like 21-mile section that everyone was like stressing about because obviously 21 miles is hard, especially when it's 100 degrees out.
And you're that late in the race.
Yeah, but man, if you had fresh legs, that section was like some of the most beautiful
single track.
Yeah, and like you're
flat.
Just you go up a little bit and then you go down, and you go up a little bit and you go down.
I like that kind of running.
Yeah, so it's like you're using different muscle groups, and it was like you're kind of hugging the contours of the mountains, and it was just beautiful. So that, and then the end was pretty good. The last 16 miles to the finish, except for maybe like the 2 miles, like as you got off the trail was pretty rocky and pretty terrible. I called Lauren, and I'm like,
you're like 2 miles from the finish.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is the worst. I am so miserable right now. And she's like, well, you got 2 miles. So I'm like, I just did a 36-minute mile, and I'm like, just like losing my you know?
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
That's rough. Was it like baby heads? Or was it just
like,
you couldn't get
you
into
couldn't
the rhythm?
run. You couldn't, and the whole time I'm like scared I'm going to fall, because it's all like loose rocks.
Were you in like wash? Like what?
No, it was
what
like steep downhill.
No.
Yeah. For the
Were you-
last 2 miles.
Were you
I
looking
had my
around
poles
like?
out, and I'm like trying to balance.
Were you looking at the alternate routes? Like, why weren't we over there?
Yeah,
Why?
I was
I've
just-
done that in races
was in
before.
the
Like,
zone.
why are we not on that trail?
I couldn't see anything. I was just like, oh, and then it was like with 3 miles to go, I had to take another big and I'm like,
Yeah.
really, Andy? You can't hold it till the end? You see, it's like the worst. Like, I have 3 miles to go. You can't hold it. And my body was like, nope, we're going right now.
Well, your body was like, well, you did want another bean wrap at the last aid station. So
Exactly. So, and then the last 2 miles were on road, which was,
that's hard.
It is hard.
Have you done Bigfoot 200?
No.
The last, it's a half marathon to finish on the road.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's rough.
And I had the work because that was when Tahoe and Bigfoot were just like 17 days apart. I had the most excruciating nerve stuff going on in my feet.
Yeah.
And I mean, every step I was like, this is the worst way to finish.
It is
this
the worst.
is torture.
Yeah.
I was like trying to find any dirt I could like along the road. Joe Corcione was my pacer at that time. And he's just like, we just need to finish, Sally. And
Yeah.
My feet are on fire.
I know, like a half marathon, it's like seems like nothing, but like 200 miles into a race, it feels like a lot.
It took us 4 hours to do that half marathon. It was so soul sucking and just so degrading.
Well, I went into that 60 miles like, oh, I'm going to crush this. And I was like really running hard. And then the last 4 miles just
took the life out of you.
Lauren's like, well, just call me when you get to the finish. Like,
what a sweetie. She knows you well. Like, just stay positive and okay, I'm rooting for you. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Get off the phone.
Exactly. Then me just back into the pain cave, just like digging deeper.
Is that the furthest you've gone in a race?
Yeah.
Like at a single time. I mean, you've done like the 72-hour loops. Have you done those?
Yeah, but I mean, so I did that whole thing where I ran Canyon's 100-miler.
Yes, I remember
and
this.
then flew to Arizona.
Because I was there.
Yeah, and then ran the 250.
Yes.
So I had like 1 day off. So
yeah.
that's 350. But
that's kind of...
It's almost worse because I had a day to like
Yeah.
kind of recover, but like you don't recover in a day after a 100-miler.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much like doing just a big giant.
Yeah.
These are epics. These epic distances.
But yeah, I mean,
I remember when you did that, I was at the start line.
Yeah, 300 miles is the furthest I've gone in one shot.
In one, like from one start line to a finish line, a single event.
Yeah, I've done 72s, but I think I did like 230.
Mm-hmm.
So
around a track, man.
Oh no, I did like a dirt. It was like a 2 mile dirt loop.
Oh, it was at the Jackpot Ultra. Did you do that?
No, it was
hour?
What's it called? It's Beyond Limits up above Hemet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Hemet.
Yeah. Well, no, where it's at is nice. It's up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Hemet's not nice.
Yeah. We have people that listen from Hemet.
Well, my
I'm
apologies.
just kidding. I don't know. I don't know.
Probably.
But I have to say,
we'll get comments. They know though. They know.
They know. They know we love you all. And we used to, when we lived in Sun City, we used to go to a church in Hemet. We would drive from Sun City and go to a church in Hemet. And every time we would drive out there, I always remember, as a kid, I was like 10 or 11. I'd be like, why? Where are we? Why are we driving out here? But we also lived in the middle of nowhere.
Right,
so.
right, yeah. I did my OB shift in Hemet and delivered a bunch of babies when I was on my paramedic internship.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It was something. That's all I think about when I think of Hemet is delivering babies.
Oh my gosh, that is wild. What was it like seeing the finish line, Andy?
Oh, it was good.
Was that just the best feeling in your life? You could finally stop.
Yeah, I was excited. I was like really, really excited. And then everyone's like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "I want to leave."
Yeah,
I need to go see my wife. I haven't seen her in a week. I don't want to do anything else. But I literally, I was like, I need to go see my wife.
And you had to drive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Tesla drove. And then,
yeah. Thank goodness for the Tesla.
Thank God.
You put a lot of trust in it.
I do. It does a good job. I pay it well, and then it does its job. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you snooze?
No.
While it drove?
You don't. You can't sleep because it'll like get mad at you, but it just keeps you in the lines.
Yeah.
So you don't.
If you are dozing,
you don't paint outside the lines. What I do is, you have to charge them, and I just go to every charging station and take a nap.
Oh, that's
So
a
it's
good
like most
idea.
people like try to get the like charging station, like, oh, I'm gonna make it all the way to this point, and I'll go to like 6 charging stations and take a 30-minute nap at every single one.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's my like my cheat code. I don't really need to charge it that much, but it just gives me an ability to like, and because I'm a fireman, I'm used to like operating on low sleep and then just napping.
Yeah.
So probably not the healthiest way, but Lauren was flying to New York the next day, and so if I didn't get home, I wasn't going to see her for like another week. So I was like, I got home at 3 p.m. and like got to hang out with her. And then she left at 2 a.m. to go to New York. And then she just got back yesterday. So
Oh.
yeah, it was a long 2 weeks of like not a whole lot of seeing my wife, but yeah.
But you made it happen. You're a good man, Andy. Got back to see
You
her,
got to,
and
yeah. And the kids.
I can't imagine I'm thinking back to all the 200s I've done. The idea of sitting to drive, I think I'd get in an accident.
Well,
I can barely stand up straight. My equilibrium's all off, and
my feet swelled up real big. I'll
oh
say
yeah,
that.
sitting like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's painful.
Yeah, I tried to run when I got home. I was like,
Yeah, you
oh,
got to get that mile in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd finished that day, so
Okay,
the mile was
yeah.
good. But like I was like, oh yeah, because I like to do like 5 miles, like 10 hours after I finish a big event, just to like flush everything
Flush
out.
out, yeah.
I couldn't get my feet in my running shoes because they
No
were so
way.
swollen. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Took a bunch of tart cherry.
Does that work?
I mean, I think it does work for
Yeah.
swelling. Yeah.
Do you
I mean-
do you do the legs on the wall?
I don't. No. I've seen. I'm not flexible enough to do it. I'm like really inflexible. So if I
Yeah.
tried to do that, like
They'd be like 6 inches off
they'd
the
be
wall.
like they'd be like bent like this, you know. It would be a really funny experiment. Like I can barely touch my knees. That's how inflexible I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So-
you see, this is what I love so much too, because we always talk about like flexibility, mobility, all the different things being injury free, but you're pretty much injury free without being flexible. And I actually learned this when I was getting my coaching certification. There was a guy; he was one of the professors that teaching, and he said, there are just some people, like if they're fine, if they're running well and they're not injured and they don't do any stretching, don't tell them to.
I don't do any stretching.
Because they actually don't need it. Like their kinetic chain is fine. But then there are other people that like they have to do that. They always have to be mobilizing and doing the yoga and to help keep off injuring. That's fascinating. You feel so good and you don't stretch.
I've been like that my entire life. Like literally, because I played football and track and did all the things. And like I can remember my football coach sitting on my back, trying to Glaze, you will touch your toes, and it's
just
like
ripping
I'm like,
your hamstrings.
I don't think I will, sir. Like I'm like trying.
Yeah.
Like when I do the stretch test, I can't even touch the box. Like when they have like
crazy.
Yeah, I get like a -10 or something instead. I can't even get to 0. So.
Now, is that something you'll make a goal out of and try to change, or do you think that's it? It doesn't need to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, not really. Honestly, anytime I've ever tried to do stretching in my life, it always ends up turning into an injury.
Really?
Yeah, like anytime, like I've tried, and anytime I start stretching, within like a few months, like I've pulled something or torn something or done something, and I'm like, well, when I don't stretch, then that never happens.
You messed up the chain.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good advice. I'm not, like Sally said.
There's just some people.
A lot of people need it. I always tell people, because I'm not a coach, and people always ask for advice, and I go, look, I'm only an expert in Andy Glaze. And at no point, at any point in any of my videos or anything, do I ever give anybody advice, except for I tell you what gear I'm going to use. I tell you like maybe my race strategy, things like that, like what I'm going to eat. But like, I don't give any advice, coaching advice, because I'm not a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've made a couple videos where I'm like, hey, if you're a coach, comment in the comments, and then people can read. And if they need a coach, they can they can contact you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people ask if I coach, I always send them that reel like, hey, just read the comments. There's a bunch of coaches in there.
That's so
But
awesome.
yeah, but I'm only an expert in me.
I
So
love that. I
yeah.
think that's something that we could all focus more on. Is like stop worrying about what everyone else is doing and like go and just live it, experience it, and figure out how you can be the best you.
Right. I mean, there's a learning curve on certain things, but you got to figure out your own body
Yeah.
for sure. And especially with food, I think, you have to really experiment. I can't eat what you eat. You can't eat what I eat.
Yeah.
You know, I crave different things. And when you're 150 miles into a race or 20 miles into a race or whatever it is, you got to be able to swallow it and like eat it and keep it down. And if it's something that's disgusting, you're not going to be able to do it, you know?
That's so true. Yeah, I know you have a vegan diet.
I do.
Mainly because you don't do well in dairy.
Right. I have a dairy allergy.
Yeah. Do you ever miss meat though? Is that something that like, have you ever been like, dude, I need to get like a big
a big steak.
A big dose. Yeah, or like a steak.
Sometimes when I get really hungry, like I'll crave it, but I haven't had meat. Like when I went through that huge life change at 27, I quit eating meat too. I quit it for a month and I never felt better. So I just have never eaten it since.
That's awesome.
So it's been 20 something years.
Oh yeah. So meat would probably pulverize you.
Yeah, but I'd have some GI distress.
If you dove into that.
Yeah. But I mean, all my kids eat meat. I'm not like one of those like pushy vegans or whatnot. Like, all my friends eat meat. Everyone at the firehouse eats
It's not your personality?
Yeah. It's just, it's just what I do. But
yeah.
It just works for me. But I think everybody should find like what works for them. Like, my son's trying to build a bunch of muscle right now. I'm feeding him more meat than you can, cooking him steaks and eating bacon and all this stuff, because it's protein, eggs and all this stuff. So I think that's an adult decision to like, choose your diet. And I'm not going to like force that sort of thing on my kids.
Yeah.
Like if my kid came to me and said, hey, I want to be a vegan. Cool. Then we can like talk. But, right now he won't even, if it says vegan on it, he's like, that's disgusting. I'm like, you haven't even tried it. I just know it's gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's a good perspective to have on it.
Yeah.
I'm to each his own, like gluten-free, paleo, vegan, vegetarian.
Right.
If you can find a way that you feel strong when you move, like eat that way.
I think the most important thing is just try to eat less processed foods.
Yes.
And I think when you look at the healthier diets that are out there.
Except when you're in the middle of a 200-mile race. There might be some gummy bears and Doritos
I
in
drank
there.
an entire 2 liter of Coke.
Yeah. That's when I drink Coke too.
Yeah, I don't ever drink soda. Never. Like I never ever drink soda. But yeah, at mile like
it's rocket fuel.
220 or something like that. It was hot and they had a whole bunch of ice and a 2 liter of Coke and I sat there and drank the whole thing and it was amazing.
Amazing.
And then I took a nap.
Yeah. Sugar just.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, what about the caffeine? I'm like, nope. Like, no. I just took in probably like 190 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just try to like stop so much processed food and that'll be the best thing for your diet, but beyond that I don't really tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
And it's not my expertise either, so it's like I feel if it's not your expertise you should just keep your mouth shut about unless you really know. I'm not a nutritionalist and yeah
well you are an expert in being you.
Yes.
And what's next for you, Andy? I know that we can, and we'll put the links to your TikTok, your Instagram. You don't have a website, do you? Or do you have a Substack do you write anywhere?
No, I mean, I have a blog, whatever.
Do you have a blog spot still?
I still.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
What?
How long have you had that?
Long time. Because I used to put all my race reports on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're putting the link to your blog spot as well. Do you still add to it?
I don't, well, because like
just every now and then.
I haven't in a while because most of I used to, write these very complicated race reports, but now everything's video.
Yeah.
So like my race reports are like my videos.
Yeah.
So I haven't, my mom's upset about it because she used to love to read.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Blogspot. Yes, I still have it.
Blogspot. I had a couple.
Yeah. So what's next? I mean, I've the Salt Lake City Marathon, then I have Cocodona. I'm doing Leadville again. Crazy Mountain, which
that's in
Montana. And I would just say to you that it's my favorite North American ultra right now.
Okay, so when I went to Hard Rock last year, the race director came up to me
she's amazing.
And said, you need to come, let me know if you want to do this race.
Yeah, she's
but there's grizzly bears there.
No, there's not.
There's not?
So I talked to...
That's literally like, I was like, where is it? And I was like, oh, don't you have grizzly bears?
There's not grizzlies in the crazies. And if there is, there might be one, but it's like, they normally keep track of where it is. I talked to a bunch of elk hunters that were
nice.
like, because they're probably like the best people
so helpful
to know, like that were in that area. and they all told me that there was nothing going on out there.
That's awesome.
So, but I mean, you can run with bear spray, and I'm sure you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm. I've done that in Canada before.
Yeah, I bought bear spray when I got there just to make Lauren happy, but then I didn't end up running with it.
Yeah.
But, it was only 35
For the visual?
Yeah, for the visual. I showed her I bought it, and then I was like, I'm not.
Then you realize how big it is, and you're like, do I want to make this another?
I think I would run with it if I do it this year, just because I didn't know what the water situation was going to be like. But the cool thing about this race is there's so much water everywhere that like I never even took water from the aid stations.
No way.
Yeah, I just had a filter and just, filter in my bottle and like just drank delicious,
amazing,
like spring water whole time.
That's how Bigfoot 200 is.
Yeah.
I drank so much filtered water just at every chance. Amazing.
Just like, it was and it's just beautiful. They're like granite mountains. And it has a very Sierra Nevada like vibe to it, like favorite. Eastern Sierra like type stuff. And so
when is it?
Into July. So I definitely just put it on your list.
Okay. The other amazing, your second time?
Yeah. Amazing belt buckle, and she changes it every year you do it.
Wow.
And it's like one
really
of those
special.
like real cowboy belt buckles with like the turquoise and all the
Really?
Yeah. It's a cool race, and the race director is amazing.
Yeah, she's
like owns a cattle ranch and is like a real cowgirl and like the whole thing. So so I'm doing that, and then I'm doing
that is solid climbing if I remember.
Yeah, I think it's like probably 20-something thousand.
Yeah.
You climb up and over a 10,000 foot peak.
Yeah.
I think 4 times.
Yeah. I think I was looking at the profile of it at some point. This is a stout 100.
It's gnarly, but it's kind of like, it's like a mini UTMB. So it's like valley, up and over a mountain, valley, up and over a mountain, valley.
That is just like UTMB.
But you don't have to do 11. You only have to do like 4.
Okay.
So
you have that in July.
I do.
And then Leadville right after.
I think Leadville's in June.
Leadville's August.
Is
typically.
it? Oh yeah, that's right. It is August.
Well, typically, unless they moved it.
No, it's right. It's right before UTMB. So I didn't get into UTMB, but I got an email saying that they're going to let me in. So I might do UTMB again.
After they saw the amazing footage at the 300, they're like, we need Andy.
Well, yeah,
you do a great job exposing the sport. I hope that every race director understands how valuable you are just to the community.
I do like that race. So
yeah.
And then Moab and
the full UTMB, or will you do one of the shorter?
Well, the full one. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's like, I haven't 100% decided yet, but
you got to tell Lauren, like, come on, we're going to go on a European vacation. Well, put your days after the race.
Right. Well, so last year we went through Italy, and then so this year, if we go, I've already planned, we're going to do Spain.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Have you ever been to Spain?
No. So
one of my favorite. So Spain or Italy, dream countries that I would 100% move to.
Really?
I love Spaniards and Italians. They're really similar too. They're just like, Spaniards are just so passionate.
Right.
And I remember I went there to release a shoe a few years ago with Nike. Oh gosh, it's like 2019. We were releasing a shoe.
Yeah.
And I was with my teammate David Laney there. And all I remember is that we went to dinner at 9 p.m. This incredible restaurant where you walk in from the streets, cobblestone streets, which, we've passed like 14 cathedrals before even getting there. It's just so extraordinary. I think we were in Barcelona, and as you come off the street into this restaurant, which from the outside it looks small, they take us down into this cellar to this enormous restaurant, and it's lit up. I mean, it's like stone walls like all around, but I see just tables of 10, 15 people. It's so loud. There's music. Everyone is talking to each other, and there's laughing. And what stood out to me the most was so many college-age kids and no phones.
That's awesome.
Nobody had phones. Like the culture, they very much value interaction and just human interaction and time with each other. Family is so important. But Aosta Valley, Italy, too. I mean, I love those places.
We had a great time last year. So that's how.
So you guys are going to go to Spain.
That's how I'm selling it. I'm like, because she cruised me for UTMB, and so and that's a hard.
I mean, it is hard, but like you're also in a cool spot.
She's not good with buses. Like the buses and the like cliffs and the narrow roads and all that. So
yeah, I mean, you could try to drive. We have friends that have driven.
Yeah, I don't think Lauren's up to drive in Europe at night, but.
On the other, are the steering, well, I think Italy, the steering wheel is on the other side, or they drive on the opposite side of the road.
And it's like half the yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
That's a good sell, though.
Possibly UTMB again.
There's great shopping in Spain, too, so you can tell her,
Yeah, I'll tell her.
You'll take her shopping.
Yeah. And then Moab for redemption, and probably...
You're going to finish Moab this year. You're going to do well.
I will finish
You
it.
will.
Yeah.
And then after Moab, you'll do Javelina?
Probably. It's like I proposed to Lauren at Javelina.
You did?
Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
Are you serious?
I really
This
did.
is so sweet.
Yeah.
Wait, was she just out there crewing you?
Yeah.
And she had no idea that you were going to come in?
I ran with her ring like the whole time.
Oh my gosh, were you so nervous about that?
Yeah,
That it was going to fall out?
The best part is I DNF'd.
No.
Yeah, I got...
Did you DNF to propose to her?
No, I got really bad chafing, and so I was all bloody, and I was 60 miles in, and I'm I'm DNFing, and so...
You're like, do you want to marry this?
This loser that can't finish a race.
No, not that. Just bloody, sweaty out in the middle.
Yeah.
This is your future, babe.
Yeah, exactly. And it is her future. She's seen a lot of very interesting aspects, When I got back from Arizona, I'm like, look at this chafing. I'm like, give me your hand. Feel this. Do you feel those bumps? She's like, you are disgusting. I'm like, but you feel them, right? Gotta love, being married.
Oh, absolutely. That's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
Is moments like that. That's literally how you can be all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you're still wonderfully loved.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Great. So you proposed to her at Javelina.
I did, yeah.
And now you're dragging her to UTMB, possibly Spain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... in June, I'm doing Machu Picchu with Hayden. We're gonna go. We're gonna go hike it.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So that'll be fun.
Look at you two.
The hardest part's gonna be keeping the streak during that week, but I'll have to figure that out.
Well, you guys are. What's your? Is it you have to do a mile a day?
No, my streak is 100 miles a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to run 100 miles every week.
That's the. Yeah. So keeping that at Machu Picchu is gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you have the 100-mile a week streak, but I guess I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking of I need to run a mile a day, but I wasn't
technically
I don't
have a streak like that because
you're doing 120, 130 miles a week.
For my job, there might be a day that I can't run, just depending on what. And so I built a streak that doesn't reflect anything in the real streaking reality. Most streaks have all these rules, and I just said, I'm going to run 100 miles every week.
You're going to do your own rules.
Yeah. So I just made it my own thing, and that's just what I do. So it's I'm not on any website. I'm not tracking my site.
Are there websites?
You've ever seen the streaking websites?
No.
Oh yeah, there's people.
I don't go on.
Yeah, there's people that have been running a mile a day for 45 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, there's all sorts of streaks going on.
That's wild. The stories around that too, through surgeries and colds and ailments and getting that mile in or whatever that looks like.
I've had some rough weeks.
Especially after you hurt your back really bad at Moab.
I've had all sorts of DNFs. I had a wall follow me at work once, and I hurt my leg, and all sorts of I fell once and broke a couple ribs. And kept that stupid streak.
Yeah, that's painful.
Because every time you take a breath, you're so I had to run and be
what does that streak mean to you?
It's just it's just my life. I'm used to running that much, and I enjoy it. I enjoy when it's the hard weeks, when it's really hard for me to finish it.
Yeah.
But in general, it just kind of keeps me grounded. Keeps the crazies out of the brain and all that sort of stuff. But occasionally when it gets real hard, when I have a lot to juggle or, something happens, I really enjoy it when it's really hard for me to accomplish it.
Mm.
So it gives me something to focus on every day. And it keeps me, every day I wake up and I have a purpose, right? I have to get my miles.
Mm.
So, and it works for me.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would ever get this long. This is over 5 years, which is pretty crazy. I thought for sure, and I've had some pretty close calls. I thought for sure it would be over by now, but here we are. Someday it'll end. I was going to end it at 5 years, and Lauren was totally on board, but then I kept going. So
you couldn't part with it.
I couldn't. I just kept going. Yeah. Because I right before 5 years, I fell at Rocky Raccoon and really hurt my leg, and it was so hard. So hard to like finish it, but I did it. And then it was like, well, I mean, I might as well just keep going. So
Like, why not?
yeah, I mean, I like to run. So at the end of the day, it's just like, it's fun for me. If it ever became like a chore or like I didn't like it, I would just not do it.
Right.
Because, it's just
Why do what you don't love?
Yeah.
It's that idea of like, not everyone needs to sign up for a race.
Right. Yeah. And it's like I don't like speed workout. I don't do any of them.
Yeah.
Ever. Like I got to a certain age and I said, you know what? I don't like speed workouts.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped doing them. And that was it.
I think more people need to live like that, Andy, where they do what they love, not because they're trying to fulfill someone else's expectation of what they think they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't do any strength training with my legs. I mean, I run a lot, but like I do upper body stuff, but like, I know it's probably important and it probably would help me, but like, I don't really like to do it. So I don't do it.
I think trail runners are a unique situation in that because uphill work is strength training in disguise. I mean, it's plyometric, pushing against gravity, it's resistance.
And I'm wearing a backpack with weight and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of strength work right there. I mean,
and I do like fire, like with all my gear on, it's like 75 pounds.
Is it?
And I do a lot of like,
that's how heavy it is.
Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah.
75 pounds.
Yeah. And so I do a lot of stair workouts from that, which is like, kind of like lifting.
Yeah. I mean, that puts like rucking to shame. I don't think ruckers
I do these like stair climb races where, I wear all my fire gear and then we like race up buildings.
Well, didn't you do one you did one recently?
Yeah, I did in Seattle.
It
was fun.
Was that up the Space Needle or?
No, it's just one of the big buildings in downtown Seattle.
Yeah, I remember watching that. It was amazing.
There's one in downtown LA I do every year too.
And looked painful.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like the lactic acid must have just been
my heart rate's like
out your eyes.
182 the whole time, which is like close to my max heart rate.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's fun though. It's like running a 5K.
Yeah.
You're just like all out effort for a very short period of time. But this year I got beat, but like last year I beat everyone in my department. And like we had like a 21-year-old kid that's just a total stud and I beat him last year, and all year I've just talked like, oh, the 47-year-old beats you, huh?
And he's been training so hard.
He beat me this year, and I had to be like, you got me. But I beat everybody else, But,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I try to keep up with the young bucks still. It's hard though. They're, to be 21, it's like, gosh.
Well, I always say it's just a number. It really is how you live your life. And I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of people living their life like you and doing what you're doing. You are such an inspiration, Andy. And I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. You shared a lot of really incredible things about your life and stuff that you have gone through. I said at the beginning, you are your name. And it's so neat when we look at like our name and we realize like, oh man, that's such a signature of my life. And you are manly, you are strong, you are courageous, and you are brave. And you do that every single week when you commit to doing these 100-mile weeks, when you sign up for these when you sign up for these races and you stand at that start line, when you go and rescue people and save people's lives. And, you're saving lives on your TikToks and Instagram reels in ways that you'll never hear about. And I know that this podcast is going to inspire so many people. We will definitely need to have you back again for Andy Part 2. Eddie and I, we were talking about how much fun it would be to do the four of us, to have Lauren on too, and the four of us talk about what this life is like, because I'm sure that Lauren and Eddie would have some really cool stories that they would very much find commonplace in.
Oh, I bet.
Just as you and I are like.
Yeah, that would be a good one, actually.
I think it would be really good. We have quite a few couples that listen to this, and so I know a lot of times that dynamic, it resonates with people, but
Lauren is like, I mean, without her, I would not be where I am right now. She's like my greatest supporter. And then also like, she's really is amazing with the kids and does all the things that like I can't do because I'm at work or whatever. So she's the one, I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah. It's very evident you guys love each other, and just even the banter online is like my favorite. It's really sweet. And what a gift to have someone that believes in you and just lets you be who you are. And I'm glad that's what you're doing. I'm glad you're being the best Andy that you can be, because we only get one.
That's right.
And there'll never be another one just like you. So keep shining. Andy, there's people still running, believe it or not. Is there anything that you want to say to them as they're running along? They might be in a race, a long run, or putting in those 3 hours on the bike trainer.
I would just say, smile or you're doing it wrong.
I love it. If you have not followed Andy yet online, please do. He's on Instagram and TikTok. It's just Andy Glaze. Am I correct? Or do you have...
Instagram is AM Glaze. TikTok is Glaze Runs.
Okay. So we'll put those links in the show notes. You can just open up the description right now and you can see those links there. We'll also be tagging him in our Instagram stories as this podcast, of course, comes out. There'll be stories and links there too. But Andy often says, smile or you're doing it wrong. And I know every single time that I watch one of your reels, I just smile without even having to hear you say that or the hashtag. So, Andy, thank you so much for the joy that you bring into everyone's life on a daily basis. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And to all of our listeners, we appreciate you so much. We are proud of you. Keep showing up for yourself and keep choosing strong in all you do.